Welcome, one and all, to our virtual summit. My name is Venice Irving, and it is a pleasure to be here with you today. I would like you to put your name and where you're streaming in from down in the comments below. I want to know where you're coming in from. We have our speakers in the backstage ready to go. And we are going to have a great time talking today on the topic 21st century strategies for educators virtual summit. So welcome one and all. We wanted to play our part in helping teachers through the COVID-19 crisis. We felt the best way to do this was to facilitate the sharing of knowledge and insight through the teachers in our network. So, before we begin, let me welcome you all. Welcome, Gracia from Honduras. Hi. Welcome, Adale. I cannot pronounce your first name. From Rwanda. Hello. Welcome. We would like to give a special welcome to our British Council crew and also the Hornbill Lima team who will be joining us today, our viewers. Welcome. We'd also like to welcome the Relo team from Cairo, Egypt. Welcome one and all. And our very own Happy Teachers members who are streaming in, watching us live. Welcome one and all. Remember, as each speaker speaks, please put your comments and your questions in the comment box below. We will look at them at the end of each presentation, okay? Also remember, do have a certificate of attendance that you will get at the end of the summit. Look in the description box, you will see the form where you can fill out and you can get an e-certificate within 5 to 7 days after the summit. So fill out the form and we'll send your e-certificate to you. Hi, Teacher Casimir from Rwanda. Hi, Math Garden. Math Garden, where are you from? You said hola. So I'm assuming you're from a Spanish-speaking country. Hi, well, please say hello in the comments box. And please write your name, where you're streaming in from. Hi, Ashley Ariola Siancas. Good afternoon to you. Welcome. So, without much further ado, I want to go on to the first speaker, Mr. Wilmer Calagwanzo. So our first is from Ecuador. And he is a part of the faculty member of the Language Center at the Technical University of Cotopaxi in Ecuador. He occasionally works for the Air Forces while teaching foreign students on different digital platforms. He has conducted research skills and its influence on language learning and the articulation of technology in language teaching. He has trained educators and students on topics regarding Web 2.0. He also loves to do research on how technology is used to facilitate the teaching learning experience. His topic today is the new approaches in EFL, that is English as a foreign language, where he will look primarily on language learning systems, virtual classroom, courses, and blended learning. Welcome one and all. Help me welcome Mr. Wilmer Calagwanzo. Wilmer, will have put up your add you now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Added, hi.
Hello.
How are you
Hi,
doing?
everyone. Very well. Thank you so much. It's a lovely day here in Ecuador.
Hi. So it sure is. So you can go right ahead into your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let me start. Okay, so thank you so much for this time and the opportunity. As our moderator mentioned, my name is Wilmer Collahuaso. I come from Ecuador. Okay, and basically here I'm here to talk about some interesting topics. And as you can see here from our agenda, the first is the importance of using technology, the roles of teachers and students, learning management system, virtual classroom, online courses, and blended learning. Okay, now we are going to start. Okay. Now, as you can see, initially, I would like to say that I have seen lots of time situations where teachers are frustrated when trying to include technology into their teaching. You know what, still. Let's get started talking about some of the reasons teachers avoid using technology. First, availability of technological resources varies from one place to another. The truth is that a significant number of schools have very little in the way of technology resources. Consequently, there is a consideration for those of you who are in technology scare areas. Please, still learn about technology. You cannot advocate for technology if you don't know it. Learn as much as you can about the tools that may help your school and then share the information. However, lack of ability isn't the only problem for educators. The educators have problems with technology itself because it can take too long to understand how to use those new gadgets. Imagine this. It is so frustrating to have a lesson with technology only to discover that it won't turn on, won't load, or get stuck in the middle. I'm pretty sure you have had that kind of experience in the past. Teachers want to save time, not create more headaches for themselves. Let's be even more honest. Technology doesn't just waste time, it can waste money too. In most of the cases, a lot of facilitating software is pretty bad or complex to manage at the very beginning, but we teachers are forced to teach it. To sum up, and as an initial reflection indicator, what do you think? Is technology often unavailable, a waste of time and money, or constantly pushed on us as latest and greatest? Yes, absolutely. And now we can understand when some teachers believe it would just be easier to leave technology out of the classroom entirely, but it's not an option now. The problem with educators is not that there is not enough technology available at all. It is which technology to choose. Students for sure need your guidance. You must control the technology so that learners can achieve the goals you set for them. Otherwise, the learners may not learn anything. So, balance happens only by knowing what outcomes you seek. To find balance, you first need to know what you want to teach and what you want students to learn. Only by knowing your objectives and the outcomes you seek from them, you can find the proper technology. Subsequently, take this into account. What the students will achieve from the learning activity, technology is only the tool. You are the boss. One of the biggest mistakes experienced teachers make is that they incorporate new technologies without thinking about how it fits in with their current curricular design. Either worse, they're simplifying the technology that will fill class time rather to teach anything. Everywhere, I suppose, there's the cliche of the teacher who, whenever he or she gets tired, simply plays a movie. Immediately after checking this brief introduction, we're going to talk about technology and the role of the teacher. Being honest, teacher is the main person. So educators are the responsible in helping learners to have access to technology capabilities. Teachers should have necessary expertise, and this is obvious in any field. The boss might know more than the apprentice. And they try to change the classes from an static to a dynamic status in learner-centered environments where people can participate without any problem. Communication, basically. In this case, the teacher will participate in the knowledge created by others, and his or her role as one of the various knowledge sources will change. First of all, let's talk about the teacher's role and position in traditional education. The most prominent role the traditional teacher as information giver uses the textbook and his or her information by a lecturing method and instruction based on textbooks. In this method, no attention is paid to individual needs, talents, interests, or differences. The teacher considers all of them at the same level, and in a couple of learners are able to answer, that's it. Good job. The teacher always encounters the problem on how to maintain discipline. He or she believes that discipline is apart from education and it must be established first. The learning in this method is parrot-like. Once the traditional role was established, it's time to move to the new role and status of educators in technology-based teaching. Since the technology-based teaching is learner-centered education, rather than relying on the teachers, there has been fundamental changes in the roles and responsibilities of teachers and the learning process. Students can facilitate their learning process with the help of technology and educated without time and place constraints. In such an atmosphere, they can easily collect and analyze data, testing hypotheses, design experiments, and making conclusions, because utilizing the tools and technologies will reduce some limitation in the classroom. Information and communication technologies suggest various possibilities for the development and growth of the traditional teaching and training model based on new resources learning to teachers. Teachers should be able to organize different kinds of e-learning programs. They have to change the classes from a static mood that in them the awareness is in front of the teacher to students, to a student-centered environment with a dynamic method. So the learner can communicate with others by the internet. The functions. Teacher performance in classroom and other learning environments is influenced by factors such as his or her view of teaching, beliefs about the subject and the exist situation, professional skills in management and organization, personal characteristics, teacher behaviors, and even personal situations. Information and communication technologies affected on most of these elements. Generally, the function and roles of teacher in these methods can be classified as the two following groups: planning and delivering content learning. Having general and specific skills, teachers need to develop their literacy skills to be able to access, evaluate, and use information to improve teaching and learning. Synchronous and asynchronous teaching. In asynchronous learning, students can refer to the course content and notes with arbitrary speed and based on their needs, and they can communicate with each other and their teachers through electronic means. In the synchronous training, Students will present in a virtual classroom immediately. This method is required the teacher existence to lead the classes in a virtual classroom. Feedback training provider. Feedback is one of the most valuable tools in e-learning because it allows us to monitor the different performance and improve them little by little. Second group, good communication between teacher and learners. Learning system management and classroom activities. Teachers with management and course information control, such as teaching content, group works, project, and up-to-date discussion, play one of their main roles as a director. Facilitate and guide the learning process. The main task of a teacher is to enable the student in the learning matter and facilitate this process. So, with providing clear objectives, he or she should prepare and compile the appropriate content and try to encourage the learner to have active participation in the learning matter and group discussion. Causing motivation. If the teacher can create positive attitude in learning the lesson, it will motivate the students in learning. Also, creating an appropriate emotional space in classes will strengthen the intrinsic motivation in learners. After checking the new teacher roles in this digital era, let's talk about our other side. I mean, our students, learners, and technology. For sure, technology has become an integral part of teaching. It allows learners to develop critical thinking skills, learn new concepts, and creatively express their ideas. Looking across some literature review, three new roles were perceived for students, which were often associated with project-based or inquiry learning. The self-learning role. If our students really want to learn something and they have the opportunity to learn it in use, they do it, even if the teaching is poor. For example, tons of people learn from video games with no professional teaching at all. A tricky question here. Have you ever played a video game about any subject? What about the classical ones like Super Mario or World of Warcraft? If you haven't heard about them, please ask for help to your children. Second, the team member collaborator. While students have almost always been divided into groups, even in some traditional instructionist environments, the role of collaborator or team member is a relatively new one for students. The difference here is that the social interaction of the teams in some way gave them ownership by actively participating in multimedia projects or e-portfolios. There is both share and individual responsibility for the success of the project. The role of knowledge manager or leader. This is maybe the most prevalent role and the one most often associated with the use of technology to support virtual learning. The focus of the role was on the development of knowledge products, for example, reports, essay, multimedia presentation that solve a problem, address a social question, or express personal feelings. Active, active activities demanded of this role include formulating questions, searching for information, collecting and analyzing data, and designing reports and presentations. Schools that took this role most seriously have as their mission to prepare students to experience the knowledge in an information-based, technologically advanced society. Consequently, students are viewed as knowledge workers. Now, if I have some minutes more, I want to introduce the entire band of technology tools that are properly called Learner Management System, or simply LMS. A learner management system is basically a website where you as teacher can keep all your content in one place. This might include your lesson plans, your assignment sheets, your announcement to a class, and even homework activities. It may even allow students to upload the assignment and receive feedback. Now, why would you want to house your material in an online virtual space? And most important, why do some educators still prefer paper? Well, no doubt there is security in having a paper copy of something. Imagine again this. What if the computer or projector doesn't work? What if you can't turn it on? What if the power goes off? What if the internet connection goes out? These are all important disadvantages to housing things digitally. I myself, unfortunately, have prepared wonderfully enhanced lessons only to discover that I couldn't give the lesson in the classroom for many of those reasons. And when you try to use online tools to give announcements to students, what happens if some of them don't have equal access to those pieces of communication, or even worse, simply pretend that they didn't receive an email? They usually say, "Teacher, I didn't get the announcement," or "I don't receive anything on my email." All those arguments aside, I have found personally great success in using a variety of learning management systems. In fact, because much of our work now resides on online platforms, we no longer need carry papers or records, I guess. Nowadays, those documents are online and we have them forever, and we can alter our lessons with a simple click. So, shall you create an LMS for your class or not? First of all, let me ask you some questions with regard to this topic. Question 1. Are you ready for an LMS? If you keep any number of documents on your computer, you already have the beginning of a learning management system. An LMS is really just a place where you keep information. That's it, simple. However, by putting things into an online environment, are you now able to share information with your students, with teacher, with parents? Question 2. Are your students ready for an LMS? This question is essential if you are hoping for a learning management system that gives students a chance to learn virtually. While you may have internet access and the ability to upload files, it is vital that your students have access to the internet too. If your students have access to internet or any gadget that allow them to connect to classes only a couple of times in a week, for example, that may limit the ability you have to make announcement or give assignment. Furthermore, some students have limited technological abilities, and that means if you want an LMS that works for your students, you may need to do some extra activities to help them out. You need to teach them. Question 3. What LMS do you choose? There are several online places where you can store information. Moodle, Google Classroom, Schoology are all examples of places where teachers can communicate with the students in an online format. I even know about creative teachers who use WhatsApp and Facebook. That's perfect. While that may be a rudimentary version of an LMS, that doesn't mean it couldn't work. But there are some things to consider when you choose a format for your LMS. At first, some of these may have cost associated, while others are totally free. Question 4. How do you use an LMS? The truth is, any LMS you choose it's going to require you to invest some time learning and studying it. There are tutorials widely available on YouTube in any website that you can check to confirm your knowledge. Above all, you are going to learn and set up the technology. Experiment with it and even be comfortable if you making do it. Technology is a risk and you must willing to make mistakes, for sure. Now, let's talk about virtual classroom, whose main characteristic is flexibility. Virtual classroom offers a unique e-learning experience. It allows people to learn everywhere at any time, whether you would like to study at home or forced to stay at home due to this pandemic, during a business trip, or while on vacation. The virtual classroom is perfect for students who would like to remain flexible, independent from fixed times or locations. It provides an opportunity to learn and practice a language without being physically present at a local center. This option works like face-to-face webinar, where you are able to interact with your trainer and other students in a dynamic environment. All you need to participate on it is a computer with integrated audio and webcam, a laptop in most of the cases. Even you can use your mobile phones. On the other hand, an online class is a course conducted over the internet and can be viewed on a mobile device, tablet, or web browser. This lets students conveniently access them anywhere and at any time. They are generally conducted through a learning management system in which students can view their course, syllabus, and an academic progress, as well as communicate with fellow students and their course instructor. Online classes are generally self-paced, allowing for greater flexibility in completing coursework. Some examples of online courses are MOOCs, or massive open online courses, as produced by organizations such as edX or Coursera. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with those names. Many traditional universities such as Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, etc., offer online courses too. A massive open online course is an online course aimed at unlimited participation and open access by the web. In addition, sorry, to traditional course materials such as film lecture, regarding, and problem sets, many MOOCs provide interactive courses with users, forums, or social media discussion to support community interactions between students and professors, as well as immediately feedback to quizzes, tasks, and assignments. Early MOOCs, CMOOCs, often emphasize open access features, such as open licensing of content, structure, and learning goals, to promote the reuse and remixing of resources. Some later MOOCs, XMOOCs, use closed licenses for their course materials while maintaining free access for students. Consequently, you can create something in the way that you share information and get feedback from your participant, like a validating stage. And when the product is ready, with the comment, all positive, you can offer it by free, with the condition of paying a couple of 20s, I don't know, if the user would want to receive a certification. But before drawing dollars symbols, pound symbols, euro symbols, in our eyes, be sure you have permission to extend certification. And most important, you need to have recognition, an institution in most education on your back. An online course needs to be engaging so that the participant enjoys the lesson and is able to retain information and apply it in their own life. Finally, you are familiar with e-learning in any way? There's no doubt you'll have heard about blended learning. Despite the acceptance of the effectiveness of blended learning, there continues to be some ambiguity around its definition. Think for a moment about some related practices: e-learning, virtual classroom, online course, even hybrid learning. All of these practices involve learning. The concept of place or distance and the use of technology. Wherever one chooses to call it blended learning, combines classroom and online education because it is a style of education in which students learn by electronic and online media, as well as traditional face-to-face teaching. Ideally, each, both online and offline, will complement the other by using its particular strength. Most of the professors in blended learning use some version of a course management system application to connect with the students online. Moodle is perhaps one of the best known LMS applications used today, but slowly are being supplemented or bested by cloud-based content and learning management system. Through platforms like Moodle or Google Classroom, for example, students can access videos of lectures, track assignments and progress, interact with professors and peers, and review other supporting material, like PowerPoint presentation or scholarly articles. Blended learning is circumstance dependent, but usually involves a portion of the learning occurs online, with the students being able to manage the pace at which they learn. Another portion of the learning is instructor-led, usually conducted through webinars, allowing remote learners to engage more easily. Essentially, through blended learning, online and instructor-led training, it's complementary and creates an integrated learning environment. Thank you so much, and I hope that you may remember something new and significant from your teaching. That's it. There you have my name in my social networkings. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Wilma. So I trust that everyone learned something today. Let me go through the comment section now. I want to know, do you have any questions? Guys, remember, please put your questions in the comment box. Okay? So people have been commenting. Hi, people are commenting from Peru. Hi from Rwanda. I'm not seeing any questions so far. Any questions, guys? Yes, his presentation was very useful. Hi from South Africa. I'm not seeing any questions. All right, so let me ask you, Wilma, one question. Are you ready?
Yes, of course.
All right, so in the intro that I have for you, you said that you taught persons Web 2.0. Can you tell us some of the reasons why students are interested in Web 2.0 and how Web 2.0 can help them with English?
Well, basically, our current students, are native in technology. As you know, they grow up with a cell phone, with a tablet in front of a computer. And for that reason, we need as educators to take advantage of that aspect. Initially, I said that our students are naturally interested in using computers. If you have the opportunity to work in a lab where there's internet for sure, you can propose them to surf the net. There are lots of interesting websites, and also you can create your own websites to share information, to discuss a topic. And for that reason, our students can learn by gamification. That's another interesting topic that I hope I can share with you in a future program. As,
Absolutely.
as you can see now on the PowerPoint, there's a QR code, and there you have the name of the website. This is Padlet. If you scan the QR code, there you will find interesting websites, resources that I have used in previous training programs.
All right. Isn't that interesting, guys? So here you have the code. You can just hover over the code, right, Wilma? And you can
Yeah,
get resources to use in your classroom.
yeah.
Who likes that, right? Free resources. Thank you so much, Wilma. Everyone, please say thank you in the comments to Wilma. Okay, another question. Somebody asked a question just now. Let me scroll up a bit. Hold on. Computer's freezing a bit. Somebody was asking about learners and the pace of the learners. Who was it that asked that question? Oh, it says, Justine Okemi says, how can we help learners to manage their pace? How can we help learners to manage their pace?
Well, basically, we as educators, it's obvious that we need to know more than the students. And for that reason, we need to motivate them in the use of technology. If we use a computer, an overhead projector for a class, for sure, we can induct them how to use technology with an educational purpose. After that, our students need for sure to satisfy a cover necessity. I mean, nowadays, due to this pandemic, our students are learning at home in most of the cases. Unfortunately, I know that there are lots of students around the world that it's impossible to get access to technology. Poor countries, poor societies, poor towns. But apart from that, educators in general need to create a big plan. As I said, there is totally disadvantages when we as educators or our students don't have access to internet or don't have any gadget technological tools. And for the reason, now, if we face this problem, we need to create and come back to our rudimentary system of teaching. I mean, creating worksheets. And maybe we can spread this to parents. Remember, we're not alone in this job. We need to work together with parents, with authorities, with society in general.
All right. So Samuel Kelo Mafu, you also had the same question, how we can help learners to manage their pace. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions. So thank you so much, Wilma. Thank you so much. I hope everybody appreciates the time that you spent. I'm sure they did. And we thank you for the resources that you gave. Is it possible for you to put that code back up on the screen for one last time?
Yes, of course.
Put the code back up for those who did not get it, because I understand that it kind of, yes, it left the screen quickly. So let me see if we can put it back up. Okay, we're trying to get it back up for you guys so that you can get those free resources.
Now I'm trying to share.
No, you're trying to share? Well, I'm trying to share your screen too, and it's a bit challenging. But guess what? What we will do is we will try to see if we can share sometime while the others are speaking. All right? Or if not, I will send the code in an email to everyone. So remember, everyone that is online, there is a description box right below. Fill out that form for your e-certificate.
Now
Hold
I
on,
can
I think it's coming up now. Fill
Denise?
out that form for your e-certificate, and you can get your e-certificate, and also maybe we'll send you some of the resources that Wilmer was talking about.
Denise, I
Yes.
can share the link in the YouTube chat. There you go.
Absolutely. So share the link in the YouTube chat for everyone. Share
Simple
the link.
and you with access to my resources.
Right. And then you can get access to Wilma's resources. So like I said, Wilma, thank you so much.
My pleasure. It was an honor. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you again. Okay, so we are going to move right along. Hi, everyone. We are moving right along to our second speaker. Miss Therese Morris. So let us see if we can get Therese up on the screen. Okay, so Therese Morris is a former English as a second language teacher. She is a past student of the UTEC Students Teachers Association in Jamaica. Therese entered the education industry by completing an internship at the prestigious St. George's College. She is currently a homeschooling mom of two. This one is Shauna Hunter. Let me remove her and put on Therese. She is a homeschooling mom of two, and she is a full-time entrepreneur. Welcome, welcome, Therese, to our virtual summit. Hi, Therese. I'm trying to remove Shauna now, so that you can have your screen time. So remember, ladies and gentlemen who are looking in, leave your questions in the comments as you listen to Therese, as you hear what she has to say. Leave all your questions and comments in the box, because as she speaks, and when she's finished, we will have the question and answer. And we have resources giving out. We have prizes and surprises, right, Therese? Prizes and surprises from Miss Therese. Therese, I am not hearing you clearly, so I'm going to ask you to see if you can put in that earphone again.
That way.
Correct. I'm hearing you now.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, beautiful.
All right, go ahead, Therese. I'm still going to try to get Shauna off the screen, but
Okay.
until I do so, just continue with your presentation. All right.
Okay, so hi again, everyone. And my topic is raising 80s and 90s kids for the 21st century. And this is all about merging old school values and principles and the merits of them with modern advancements for a well-rounded, progressive educational system. So as a homeschooler, that's the angle I'm going to take it from. So education starts from birth, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense to try and teach kids when they're 14, 15, certain things. The whole purpose of their existence is to learn progressively at different stages. So we have to introduce them as early as possible to everything, age appropriately, of course. So the first thing is exposure. So yeah, exposure, it's pretty much what it sounds like. You need to, I believe, introducing your kids to a wide variety of things, subjects, visual ideas, music, art. And there are no bounds or limits to this. I firmly believe that every child is a genius in their own way, and it's our job to facilitate the unlocking of that within them. So provide kids with like an open buffet of information, experiences, Note the reactions to each thing over time. That will tell you what they're interested in and where to explore further. So essentially, you are studying your child. You're dating them essentially. You know, expose them to things within the lines of the family standards, of course. So you don't want to compromise yourself, but you can't limit them to just what you want. So if you're a big R&B fan, don't just play R&B around her. You know, you're sending a message that this is all you're supposed to like. This is all that's good. You know, expose her to your kids to a variety of things. Enjoy, instead of just presenting, you know, one thing. There's jazz, things that you don't particularly care for, but it's in the realm of music and music appreciation, for example. So everything, you don't even have to be talented in it. Just throw it out there and avoid negative biases. So we have a problem with maths in Jamaica, and that's simply because before you even reach maths class, you're hearing, yo, maths hard. It's hard. That teacher grades hard. You know, I failed it last year, all sorts of stuff. Keep it to yourselves. Yes, that's your experience. We don't want to invalidate it, but don't put that burden on the child before they even got introduced to it. Allow them to be a blank slate. Now, the next thing is, how are you going to introduce it? Because it's not, I mean, as 3-year-olds and such, you can't introduce it the same way you introduce it to a 12-year-old. And frankly, you shouldn't be waiting until they're 12 to introduce them to begin with. So how do we do stuff? Technical drawing, basics, you know, measuring stuff, counting off the inches on a ruler, and using their toys. Put their doll, if you're, you know, right beside there's a toy car. So they get a sense, they'll see, oh, the doll reaches number 5, the car reaches number 3. That is basically exposing them to the concept of distance, length, units of measurements, all sorts of stuff in a very simplified way, so that by the time they get older, or if they run into a construction work and they're using their measuring tape, they're familiar with it. They're prime and they're ready and eager to learn more. And you know, they're receptive at this age. It's the best time to start. So for me, I did French at school. So I exposed my kids to Spanish and French. Teaching the Venezuelans, of course, I learned some Spanish. No, I'm not fluent in either language, but I can read it pretty well. I can understand it if you're speaking enough for me to the key terms. So I expose them to that. So now my kids are into the 3-year-old. Oh no, gosh, he just turned 5. Yes, the 5-year-old, he's into German and French. And my 7-year-old, he's into Japanese, and he switched to Spanish recently. Now, whether or not they become proficient in it or not is irrelevant at this point. But they're receptive to it. They will understand etymology later on when they're doing other things, when they're doing literature, you know, when they get into the depths of English grammar, they'll understand the connections between Latin, French, Spanish, and how it's borrowed into English. And it just happens naturally. You don't force it. Now, next thing is using these things. So they're interested in German. This is a nice segue when you're talking about language and words. When they reach the section learn about food on Duolingo, that's one of the apps that we use. They might mention sausage, and then that's a nice way to speak about the German culture. Talk about the bratwurst and other things. Identifying animals, types of animals, who can move from animals to the types of meat that we get from them, veal, beef, pork. There's so many lessons to be had in a simple, effortless conversation. And even when I say effortless, it doesn't mean it's not directed and driven and focused. It's just not forced, if you understand what I'm saying. So the goal is to teach kids things that they need to know through the stuff that they want to know. And a big part of exposure to is not simply book knowledge, but in terms of interpersonal skills. People tend to think that homeschool kids are antisocial, because that's one of the first questions, like, what about socialization? Homeschooling done right, because everything everything can be a problem if it's done wrong. I mean, frankly, the structured educational system could work, probably does work for most kids if done right. So homeschooling, if done right, provides socialization and the most authentic version of it, because in a school system, a structured system, everyone is they're more mindful. It's sort of like when you're talking to a baby and you're like, oh, you're so cute, you know, like you're already soft. They will throw a spoon at you and hit you and you'll be like, oh, you're so strong. You know, your mind is set a certain way. In a structured school environment, teachers and everyone involved, they tend to be more lenient, more understanding, more, mindful of the environment. And that is good. It's protection. But it's not authentic because you leave that space and you go in the real world and no one's reacting to you that way when you do those things. So homeschooling done right allows for proper socialization. You know, you let them understand about body language, nonverbal communication. You don't even need to say it, but you yourselves need to exhibit it consistently. How to observe, how to read other people. This is a lesson that this is a lesson that can only be taught through being silent and active at the same time. So it's very much focused on being involved in the process. And as previously mentioned, the parents. This is a full-time immersed job. It's not just for, the teachers that clock in at school. And I should mention that I've found that kids take approximately 2 weeks to manifest and exhibit things that they know. So it's like they're slowly mulling it over in their heads for 2 weeks. And at the end of that time, they'll decide what to show or what to attempt from what you've taught them. It doesn't mean that they may never attempt it. Some things will be more than the 2 week mark. And that's just what it is. They may wait forever, or they may need to be stimulated at a later point by something else, but allowing the kids to just be. The next thing is vocabulary building. And I'm speaking again from the perspective of infants, toddlers, preschoolers, even primary school kids, maybe. Vocabulary building. So speak to them, read to them, ask them questions, wait for the reaction. That's very important. Don't jump to give the answer or rush them for anything. Wait for their reaction, and then you provide a reaction as well, a genuine one, not something that is formulated or preconceived. Be present in the moment, and then just repeat that process. Simple. All right, let me go to the next section. Baby talk. I mentioned that before. The whole Google Gaga and, abbreviating words, making it sound funny, dada instead of daddy, which I understand dada for some, that's the first thing, but, to continue with it, it sort of stifles a child's development, because once they've mastered that, like, why pour that into them first when they're capable of so much more? At their own pace, their own timing, but provide them with the best. So speak to your kid, and I'm saying her, sorry. Speak to your kid as a person, as a human being. That's what they're first and foremost. And I should mention that with homeschooling, or not even homeschooling, with nurturing your kids, with raising them, it's all about doing life with your kid, not just living with them. You're doing life with them. You're experiencing things with them. It goes both ways. So they'll understand everything in their own time, and it's just a matter before they start showing. Whatever you fill them with, that's what they can only provide. Of course, they'll be more proficient, and there are certain concepts. So like, for example, a person may not be able to swim, but they'll know that they need to put one hand in front of the other and kick their feet. So theoretically, they know what to do, but they don't know how to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good start. And that's where you need to provide kids with first. So stuff like people tend to say, don't use big words, or woo, you use a big word. There's no such big word. It's a matter of presenting them with complex, more advanced information and putting it right beside something more basic. So eventually the kids themselves will start picking up the synonyms. So if you say stop, desist, cease, for example, random example, they'll figure out that desist and cease means the same as stop. So just expose them, build their vocabulary. Yeah, they'll eventually make the connection. Next is perspective. So this one is sort of connected to vocabulary, choosing positive words and ways of looking at situations. It doesn't mean to be blind to the negative. It just means focus more on the positive you want to foster. Point out the negatives if necessary, then refocus the positive attributes desired. So if your child hits the television, for example, instead of telling them how bad they are and how expensive the television is, and commenting if it's working and you're not going to buy another one, all this line of thought and speech, you could say something along the lines of, oh no, don't do that. We have to take care of the television. You know, hitting things back is bad and it's not nice, and you're a good girl, you're a good person. So we treat things nicely and we appreciate and respect what we have. So you're acknowledging that something is wrong. You've done wrong. It's not cool. All right. This is who you are. This is who I'm training you to be. And this is how you're expected to behave because this is who you are. Now, that will encourage a child to be more receptive to what you're saying, and will build a bond with the person because now they know, okay, they're not going to flip off every time I do something wrong. And there's more value placed on me than on the item, if you get what I mean. So those are ways of handling stuff. You can pick up the child and direct them to something more proactive, something more positive, like another toy. Not that you're rewarding the bad behavior, but you're saying this is an appropriate thing for you to play with. This is how you use it. And that way you've just corrected the child, you've disciplined them, and now you've shifted focus onto what you are to do. This is what's acceptable. Now, also, when they make mistakes, perspective. So let's say you tell your child to go for something that's red, like a red plate, but they bring back green, a green cup. Instead of saying, that's not the red plate, I told you to go get a red plate, you could say something along the lines of, oh, you wanted to use a green cup as well? I like the color green as well. What do you want me to put in your cup? Do you want water or juice? All right. We have a discussion. You have a discussion about that and say, okay, now can you go for the red plate? That way, the error is not a rebuff. You get me? You're not dismissing them. You're not making them feel small. You don't even need to mention that there's an error, really. Just point out, okay, you've made this selection. This is what it is. I need that. We can have both. Let's get moving with this. And celebrate whatever they do the best. And not just celebrate them in terms of results, the process. So if they're calculating something, if they are reading, and we know certain letters like A, E before the A, there are certain letters, certain combinations that just produce a change of sound. The fact that they have followed a rule or they've made a certain attempt, the E and the I sound of, certain things that are interchangeable, they may have done it the wrong way. We celebrate the fact that they understand the concept, not the results first. That's secondary. We can deal with that later. It's to boost their confidence and they'll continue attempting. Now, a practical approach. This speaks to the everyday application of what is being taught. If it's without application, then the brain labels it as pointless to retain. So instead of setting a strictly focused lesson where you decide, okay, at 10 o'clock, I'm going to teach her how to count. Allow topics and subjects to overlap. When you're playing with her, let's say you're bouncing your child on your lap, an infant. Count the bounces. How many times? Create funny voices. Create excitement about it. When you reach the last number, you can manage count. You can end. Later, when she's eating, you count the slices of apples or grapes or whatever you're giving the child on the plate. Count the raisins. So it's not that you're saying, I must teach maths, I must teach her to count at X time. That's irrelevant. That's I don't want to use the word boring because I say that's a lazy word, but it really doesn't help. So just progressively throughout the day, you just know she needs to learn how to count. Count everything all the time in funny voices. Make it fun, make it interactive. Dances, make up with jingles, and it's nothing to think about and have to pre-plan. If you're living in the moment, you're being with your child. And as a teacher, if you're just being, you're happy to be at work, you're happy to be with the students, that is enough. You'll naturally want to do that, and it will happen. So this way, they're introduced to numbers and counting instead of simply for the sake of calculating math problem. They'll see the practical application in their lives. I don't know if you can hear my kids in the background. I apologize if you can. Oh yes, so another example that I love doing with my kids is cooking rice. We have glass lids covering the pots. So while it's boiling, you can see the steam rising, and they'll grab stools and stand up over the stove with me at a safe distance, of course. And you can see the steam, you can see the condensation, you can see it falling back. That's a similar concept with how clouds are formed. So my kids are into clouds. We talk about the types of cloud: cumulus clouds, cumulonimbus, stratus, different types. So when we're walking, we're going to get a cab, we're walking to the park, we're just exercising outside, playing outside, whatever it is, they'll look up and notice the clouds, and we can discuss it. And so now when we're in the kitchen, I'm teaching them, okay, you need steam to cook. So they're learning how to take care of themselves. Everyone needs to learn how to cook because everyone eats. And they're learning about science, condensation, cloud formation, heat. They're looking at the stove. Okay, why is that part blue? Why is that? And we start a discussion. If you don't know, you don't know. You go search. You say, okay, let's go check the encyclopedia. I don't tell my kids we're checking Google because Google is a big encyclopedia, and I'm hoping to have like a massive encyclopedia set one day. So their minds are primed to that. The concept of checking a book, checking something with all the answers exists. So these are some things to think about when we're teaching. We're in the 21st century. There are a lot of advancements, technology, but at the formative years, it's not really that necessary to rely on it at least. Okay. So for me, I can't stress enough about screen time, and I'll go into some tips on how to control screen time. So limited devices and screen time. So my first son, he didn't see a computer or a television in our home until he was almost 3 years old. We would go on the road, if we go to stop at the gas station or Tiger Mart, and we'd go in and the television is there. A lot of times we'd always catch when the lottery is going on. He'd see it there and I'd hold him and he looks at the balls and he's excited by the numbers. That's how I started teaching him counting. Another way was I was actually trying to teach him to read using the Bible, but he kept counting the chapters. And I was like, all right, he ain't interested in the words, but he's counting. So we just flip through the page and he just count the chapters, and he just, wherever Psalms end, whatever, that was the last number he knew. Right? So limited screen time. My second son, he was born around that time. So because he was born when the first one was 3, he got exposed a lot earlier, which I wish he didn't, but this is life, it happens. And it was still minimal. So I've established for my family an approved viewing list. It's massive. They don't know that they're being screened or are censored, but it's very selective and it's expansive. It's a wide variety. have taken the time to find shows from all over the world, South Africa, India, Canada, the UK, everywhere, where quality is, that's what I'm selecting. So invest your time and energy in providing them the best food for their mind. The issue with devices is that it makes things too easy for them as well. At a stage when they're supposed to be flexing their muscles and building their strength, their cognitive, abilities, their brain power, all of that. So devices weaken the brain's power to overcome challenges and to push yourself to create innovative solutions. Devices make humans lazy when we overdose on it. And for kids, the dosage should be super low. When we overdose on it, it's really destructive. Even though I have kids, my kids go a couple of days or even a week or two without any devices. And, there are a few exceptions that might creep in there, certain like Bible Project and Star Trek. We are Trekkies. Yeah. So I'll allow that before bed or so. And still, I avoid it because I know you need to have your brain rested for a certain amount of time before you start to sleep, before you head to bed. So I also teach them the hard way or the long way of doing everything before letting them. And after they've mastered that, then I inform them of the shorter way. So I like to call it knock your chest and count maths. My kids do that because I did that in primary school. And now they are calculating and multiplying numbers just out of the top of their head. They didn't look at the timetable at the back of the school books that we have here in Jamaica and study, because, wrote like 2 1s 2, 2 2s 4, 2, whatever it is, they just sing it. My kids learned it by calculating it by hand, by counting. We have a money jar, a piggy bank, and they'll take it out and do money art. And money art consists of anything from designing stuff, as it suggests art, designing stuff with the coins. They'll form their name, they'll form shapes, and they'll start multiplying with it. Now, after they've mastered that, I hand them a calculator. And my kids think a calculator is like a Nintendo, like they freak out about it. So, yeah, I'm happy. I like to say I'm the coolest nerds ever. Yeah, so after they've mastered it, then you can introduce them to technology. Let me see. All right, I've written this. Okay, so we have like flashcards and such that, and not flashcards as in just to remember, just random flashcards with words. No, flashcards as in topics. So science, animals, history, pictures, questions like, why do our eyes close when we sneeze? What's the largest volcano in the world? Just a lot of your body parts. Why is blood red? So these are the characters jumping in a pool of red, the white blood cells jumping in. And my kids were like, okay, why are they? We're reading, we're having fun. Hemoglobin. So by the time they watch a show, if they watch a medical documentary, because they're into documentaries, you'll see that they're like answering the questions or they're preempting, like, Mommy, is that hemoglobin? Is that so? Why is that? Their minds are open to it. So another thing is that when I talk about application and perspective and practical approach, no, you don't want your kids to be intellectually obese. That's how I put it. Just like when you eat too much and you're not burning calories, you become obese, you become sick. And while some people are starving in Africa for lack of food, you have too much and there's a deficiency both ways. Similarly with the brain, you can't just be pumping information into kids and not allowing them to actually use it, dispense it, share, help someone, experiment with it. So they have to be physical and fine. You've allowed them to watch something. Then there must be a point of silence, of rest, where they're left to then demonstrate what they've absorbed. So that's very important. And one of the things I like to tell my kids, Fun without focus is foolish. Focus without fun is forgettable. Fun and focus is formidable. I'll say it again. Fun without focus is foolish. So you can't just have your kids running wild without structure or anything. It's just not wise. But focus without fun is forgettable. They will not retain anything. No one will. We don't even like doing that, much less for them. But when you have a right balance of fun and focus, and the balance changes based on the situation, but they both must be there in some form or fashion. Fun and focus is formidable. And if that's the approach, your kids will definitely grow and learn and appreciate knowledge for all that it's worth. I'm going to jump ahead to tips for screen time control. So, for one, remind kids that devices are nice, but they're not necessary. And before devices were created, people had to find other ways of doing things, getting certain things done. And sometimes I tell my kids that I didn't see a computer until I was 13 years old, and they're like, oh! Yeah, it is nice, but it's not necessary. They can live without it. You know, it is what it is. Secondly, remind them that devices are first and foremost tools, not toys. And just like every tool, it has a specific intended use. Excessively using tools outside of their intended purpose equates to abuse. And this is for anything. If you take the hammer looks like a toothbrush. It has a handle, it has something at the other end. If you take the hammer, try and brush your teeth. Yeah. And if you take a toothbrush, which looks like a hammer, it has a handle, it has something at the other end, and you use it to put a nail in the wall, it won't work. So the intended use must be established to avoid abuse. And it's a tool and should be used and respected as such. Next. And I should mention that it's not just destructive to the tool or abusing the tool, but you're destroying yourself. You're depriving yourself of what you really deserve. And you deserve the best. Waiting. Yes, number 3, I remind them that waiting means you'll get what you need at the right time. And I guess this could be a broad life lesson for all of us who are waiting on something to happen. So, you know, being offered a whole pizza when you've already just stuffed yourself to the brim, it's not very useful. If you know the timing of things, you wait until you're empty. When you're hungry, that's the right time to have it. You don't want to be eating food that's raw. Oh, I'm hungry, you're rushing it. Yeah, but you need to wait. There's value in waiting. So waiting means you get what you need at the right time. And devices, I believe they should not be provided as a gift, nor should they be withheld as punishment. It just is. And this one is rough because I have sometimes felt like, okay, I'm taking it away as punishment, but have to pause, because if you're taking away the device as a form of punishment, then you're ascribing a great value to the device to begin with. And that's not the message you want to send. It just is. You will have access to it when you need it, and you won't when you don't. This need is determined and affected by the time of the day, the events of the day, resources at the moment, and yes, behavior and attitude, because we don't reward bad behavior. We don't, and let me not even say reward bad behavior. We cannot, it's wrong to teach them that bad behavior gets them what they want. Crying and tantrums should not get them what they want. So that's the next point. But before I get there, excess. So the next tip for control is to remind yourself and them, but yourself as well. Excess can be just as dangerous as not having enough. So if you want I like to tell my kids, if you want to bathe, a single cup of water just won't do. If you're thirsty and you pour all the water from the ocean out, so just pour it Imagine, pour the whole ocean into a cup or on you trying to give you, you'll drown. It doesn't actually quench your thirst. So water isn't bad. Devices aren't bad. But how are we using them? The amount and the time. So when you need to make dumpling, for example, a cup of water, that's enough. When you need to swim, yes, an ocean of water is fine. It's great. So we just have to use what we need at the right time and the right amount. And that's connected again to waiting means you get what you need at the right time. And let me see. Spoke about obesity, intellectual obesity. Be mindful not to get obese. So having too much poured in and not enough coming out is not healthy. And that's what devices do. They're just constantly providing them with information, with stimulus, with everything. After they've consumed something, they consume it, then they digest it, and they meditate, and then they should be exploring it with their actions. So a lot of times we have kids with behavioral issues and people don't know why. They come from a good family, they go to a good private school, the teachers or whatever, and we don't know what happened. Everyone is confused. No, I'm not going to say devices are totally to blame, because there must be some environmental factors involved as well. But the devices, leaving them up to their own, handing kids devices and leaving them to their own devices, you have issues. You're going to have issues. You're bound to have issues because they don't know what is good from bad at that stage. They're still learning. And also, I've had the experience, I've read of people having the experience, I should say. I've had this experience on a less harmful scale. But they have videos where you hear them saying daddy finger, mommy finger, pinky finger, whatever. And it looks like Mickey Mouse. And the parents come by and glance, which is why I haven't done it so much recently, because I haven't had much new shows, but I make a point of duty from birth to watch every episode with my kids from start to finish, because somewhere along the line, whether some values or someone who upload the video has some, unscrupulous intentions, you don't know what's going on. I watched the whole thing. So with the Mickey Mouse daddy finger stuff, they switched in the middle of the video. And Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, everything just became red and black. And they were shooting each other in the head. The song is still playing. So you're in the kitchen, you're in the bathroom, you think your kids are fine. They're watching Mickey Mouse, they're learning about daddy finger and whatever. But the screen itself has now changed. And they're shooting each other and you're seeing blood splattered everywhere. You don't know what's going on. You can't just trust that it's right, and that all the people who post these things and say it's for kids are of the same inclination as you are. You don't want to leave it up to them to be pouring into your child, because then essentially they're raising your kid for you. They don't have to physically be there now, because we are first and foremost spirits. We're all about intellect. The body is just carrying out what we decide in our brain. So if they control your kid's brain, they're raising your kids. They're the ones in charge. Now, next point, final tip, second to last tip, is when they cry, let them cry. When they cry and have a tantrum for what is a device. We're speaking about tips for controlling screen time, but anything, if they're not to have it, it's just let them cry. You can say stuff like, okay, you want to cry, that's fine. Let me know when you're done so we can talk. And it's not to be said in a sarcastic way or in anger or any negative emotion. It is what it is. Say it from a calm, understanding place of care, respect, and respect what they're feeling. Whatever it is that they're feeling, allow them to experience it. And then show them a different perspective how it could be handled. Because this is a situation, this is the world, this is life. So no, this doesn't mean everything stops for them. No, you continue doing whatever you were doing before as well. So as much as possible, depends, everything is situational. But these things, you just let them know these things need to be done. You can choose to stop and be angry, or you don't. You can choose this other emotion. And again, you can speak to your child on this level if you've taken the time to continually pour into them. And if they're feeling like something is unfair, you say, okay, right, it doesn't feel fair. Sometimes we choose what's more important to us, whether, watching a show or stopping to give our bodies food. So if you tell them to come and eat and they just want to watch a show, yeah, it doesn't feel fair, but you have to decide what's more important. And when you put it in that term, in that way, kids generally will see the logic, and they will, without even being, cognitively developed, if you put it to them, what's more important, watching the show or taking care of your body? More than likely, they'll understand that it's all about, their body is more important. And if they don't, and you decide to just turn off the television and you make the decision for them, they'll understand that they're not being deprived, they're not being cheated, they're not being punished. You just value their body is more important than this device, and eventually they'll appreciate it. So, and lastly, sometimes I make our kids watch TVJ News, 7 o'clock, live on the computer, because I deliberately don't have a television. So I do this so that they can get the experience of not having the power to skip ads like they do on YouTube. Also, that puts them in a position where they need to focus on something important that is of no interest, natural interest to them, because they need to understand that the world doesn't revolve around you. And sometimes they'll be in situations where they have no control, but it's vital for them to know how to control themselves and how to care about other people's interests, simply because they respect them. And there's no immediate benefit to show for it, but this is the balance of life. So basically, take away the instant gratification elements of devices and other privileges while showing them other perspectives beyond their own. So this can be rough, because I've told my son that sometimes I'm not always interested in hearing the stuff that you want to talk about, because he has the gift of gab. I wonder where he got it from. Yeah. And it's difficult, when you wake up in the morning and you hear, Mommy did Cygnus X5, blah, 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 blah. And he's talking about constellations and telling me about elements on the periodic table. And when I wake up, I don't want to hear that immediately. I want to fall. So I've told him that sometimes I'm not always interested in stuff that you want to talk about, but I'm interested in him. I'm interested in you. And because of that respect, I respect your thoughts. I choose to look and listen out of love. And he felt upset the first time I said that to him, and I allowed him to cry. And then when he's calm, I explained further and reassured him that it's not anything you're doing wrong, but we are different people. And the same way I take the time to care about what you care about. It's like if you're dating your husband and he's into golf, like, oh, you don't care about golf, but you care about him. So you might end up learning the term birdie. You might visit the golf course a couple of times with him, but you're not going to say, oh, let's go golf. You might buy him golf clubs for his birthday. Yes, I care zero about golf. I care about you, and it's important to you. And therefore, it is something to be respected. So I have them watch the news, learn about what's going on in the world. It's none of the subjects that they particularly care about, science and stuff. But you need to learn. You need to know that, okay, you can't just skip ads. Sometimes you're going to be in these situations. And lastly, so right, I was about to say yes. So the younger one actually understood it better than the older one. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Tips on how to control screen time, exposure, vocabulary building, perspective, and practical approaches. And I have a few worksheets to give away. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Therese. I was fixated on what you were saying, because if my husband ever likes golf, and I know that I don't like the golf. So I will just buy him his birthday present, give him the golf clubs, Tell him to go and golf and leave me alone.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
those are great examples.
That's love
Therese.
right there.
That is right. And
Thank you.
let me just say to everyone, Therese has one of the few child prodigies in Jamaica. So when you hear her talking about her son, talking about periodic table and
Your 7-year-old.
constellations, you're talking about a 7-year-old child. My child is 7 years old too, and he doesn't know anything about constellation. That's the furthest thing from his mind. So we are talking to a parent of a child prodigy. All right. So let me put up some questions. We have a few questions here for you, Therese.
Okay.
Well, let me see. Is it showing as yet? I put it up. Okay. Could the exposure of kids to more than 3 languages bring confusions in their learning? That's from Justine Okomi.
Okay. So first and foremost, they have to master their first language. So my kids mastered English very early. Israel, the 7-year-old, he started reading at 2 years old. So he already mastered it. With other languages, as long as they're not, all right. French and Spanish, they're Latin based. So there's some overlap with English, like comprende, and we've taken certain words like cliche, omelette, and stuff. So there's that overlap. For me, my concern in terms of language for my kids, and where I think a confusion would be, is if you're learning something like simplified Chinese and Cantonese at the same time. You know, because they're both character based. So for me, with my kids, like English and Patois, that's where I have the concern. I think Patois is very important and necessary, but because the words are so close, they can erode each other. So basically, German, French, Spanish, they're far enough from English where they won't interfere with each other. But of course, have them master their mother tongue first. That's what I'd say.
All right. Excellent. Let us look at another one here. It's taking a bit of time to come back up on the screen.
Okay.
All right. So Justine again says, it is all very well to praise the kids, but what are the limits of that attitude?
Well, you don't want to be delusional. I mean, if we were in a private setting, I'll be fine to tell you a few of the struggles I have with my kids, as wonderful as they are, right? So there's praise and balance, because you see, and again, that's why I mentioned to praise the process, not so much the results, because the results can be wrong, but the process was good. Oh, you're so determined. But then at the same time, you don't want it to become to the point where they only function when you praise them, or they do it just because they want to receive praise. Because if it hinges on that now, then they're dependent on others to validate them. So it's important for the parent to validate their kids, but to the point where they're confident in themselves, not to the point where they become dependent on it. And if it reaches to that point, then, and you never know when you reach that point until the child manifests it. I mean, you're doing your best, but at some point, if the child shows you that that's how they are, then you're going to have to remind them that, okay, very good, or praise them in a way that it's shorter. So instead of like, wow, that's wonderful, awesome, you just reel it in back and like, okay, good job. I leave it alone. Or sometimes with my son, because it's funny you mentioned this, because he loves that kind of praise. Sometimes he comes and tells me something all excited. I'm like, okay, cool. And he looks a little bit sad. I was like, yeah, but you did a good job, right? So that's the most important thing. If nobody else says you did a good job, did you do a good job? Are you sure? Are you sure that you're sure that you're sure that you're sure? And we start laughing. And he's like, yeah. So that's all that's important. So you have to show the balance, because I see I was going to say that's the unfortunate thing about life, but it is just, I guess, the beauty of life, the yin and yang. So it's about balance.
All right, and I was just gonna make a point about maybe learning your children's love
Yes,
languages.
yes, yes.
Have you read
Which
that book, The Five Love
I haven't read.
Languages?
I haven't read it. I haven't looked at it as yet, but I've heard of it, and I've gone online and
So
done the test.
if you go on, just Google the love
Yeah.
languages, I think by Gary Chapman, everybody
Mhm.
has their own love language, whether it's words of affirmation. Yes. Oh, you're
Okay.
gonna
Well,
take, okay, good.
collaboration
So
between parents and
learning your
teachers.
children's love languages, that could help because every child receives praise, every child receives love differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think learning the love languages of each of question, Therese, many
Okay.
people have been, asking away.
All right.
So
I'm just,
what would you advise on the better collaboration between parents and teachers, especially in this regard, or dear Therese?
all right.
So what would your advice be?
All right. So I I think most teachers need to be retrained. That's the first thing because and they're overworked and they're not paid enough. I know. That's why I'm not working in the system. Right? Um, so as it is right
You're
now,
just
I
reading
think
through. And this is from teacher Casimir from Rwanda.
yes, I realize.
Yes?
So I think in the online teaching era, I think we need to step back from the normal testing system. It can't work anymore. The timeline that we've been given to reach certain milestones, to have certain grades and results and stuff, we need to step back from that. So I think if teachers allowed the lessons to flow according to the kids' abilities and have them work together as a team, work with each other in a more fluid way instead of trying to have the same,
Mhm.
stand up there and just talk to them kind of thing. You know, it's I mean, in person energy you can do that and get away with it, but on the line, your kid's not feeling it
I
quite the
think
same.
parents also could do some training too,
Oh
because
yes, absolutely.
we as parents are thrown into this world of parenting, and no one taught us what to do. You
Yeah,
know,
the parenting is essential. The parents need to facilitate it, and parents need to understand that you're not just handing them over and because you pay the school fee is a teacher responsibility. Why are they calling me? Why are they messaging me? No, it's your child, it's your job. If parents understood that teachers are there to help them, not to do the job for them, I think the relationship between parents and teacher would be a whole lot better. I'm not hearing you, Venice. Hello? All right, I'm not hearing you, but I see the question, so I'll go ahead and answer. All right, is it difficult to balance homeschooling and entrepreneurship? Yeah, it is. uh, and you see, that goes back to what I said before in terms of doing life with your kids, not just living with them. because we're in a phase right now where they have to learn, they have to understand that mommy must get this thing up and running. This is how mommy pays the bills. This is what's going to allow mommy to continue staying home and being with you. I may not be as active as I'd like to be or how I used to be, but this is what happens with life. It's about changes, ups and downs, and how we adapt and adjust to it. And this gives them a chance to assert their own independence. It allows me to see who they really are, what they're capable of, and what I need to work on, because they're going to be showing me stuff about themselves that I don't particularly like. You know, I didn't put that in, or at least I didn't intentionally put that in, but I'm now noticing it. So therefore, I have to address it. And this is what's going to happen with life at all points. And I do my best to involve them in my business. So it's a bakery I have. And while I was developing the recipes, just, you know, it evolved out of my creativity with them. You know, they didn't eat certain things, and we have stuff growing in the yard. And I'm like, if we're growing it, you're going to eat it. So I have to find creative ways of getting it done. I have them help me grate a pumpkin. You know, they're finding the measuring spoons for me while I'm working. So we're talking about units of measurements. You know, they help me wash up and stuff. Now that it's become more of a full-fledged business, I don't particularly want them that hands-on, because I'm now providing on a larger scale and quality control. But they still come up with me when I go to samplings and events, and I have them talk to people. And my kids are real enough. Oh, this is gluten-free, and there's no egg, there's no milk, it's all natural, no preservatives. And the last sampling I had, you know, they went out and they got people, and people were telling them no, they don't want a sample, and they're just still talking to them. And then they bring them over, and people come over looking at me smiling, and I'm like, yeah, you can say no to me, but you can't say no to them, right? Mm-hmm. You know, so it is very difficult, but it's a learning experience, and we're doing life together. Is it good to use a strict timetable with a preschooler or be flexible? Denise, are you hearing me now? Yes, I just saw that question.
Right. And there's one last question that just popped up.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm not hearing you again. Is it good to use a strict timetable with a preschooler or
Yes,
be flexible?
I am hearing you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead and answer.
I'd say flexible, to be flexible with a preschooler. All right, so
is it good to use a strict timetable with a preschooler or be flexible?
I would say be flexible, but still have a timetable. So the timetable is not shackles and chains and you must get it done at that time, or else all hell breaks loose. It is there just to keep you on track. It is a guide. It's not your dictator. So I have a schedule. Oh gosh, I wish I could have, I don't know if I could share a screen, but actually I could. I've evolved schedules over the past years. I have like I'm on my third schedule now. And there are some days where I said, okay, we're going to do art. And in the middle of, it's set art time, but in the middle of art time or before art time, they said they want to go to the park. But I have outdoor activity for a little bit later. I just switch it. I just switch it around, or you just delay it for the next day. It's not a huge deal. You know, so having a timetable helps you feel composed, and the kid needs some amount of structure, but you don't want to feel chained to it. That's it. So it is flexible, definitely flexible for a preschooler, but you know, have some direction. Let me see if I have it up. Let me see. So this is my timetable that I had with my kids. I'm going to try and make it as large as possible. Oh no. So you can see, let me maximize it. Yeah, I hope you can see. This was the last timetable. This is the second one. So we have grooming in the morning, breakfast. It goes
All
side
right.
to side.
Thank you so much, Therese. Therese, you do have some worksheets that you want to give to our members and to our viewers. So I'm gonna ask you now to tell us how all the viewers can get your worksheets. Can you let us know quickly? Not sure if she's hearing me. All right, so we are going to, I'm gonna take her off screen. Okay, guys, so I hope you can all hear me. Unfortunately, we were having a bit of technical difficulties, Therese, but the show must go on. So we are going to continue with our next speaker, which is Shauna Hunter. However, as we go forward regarding Therese and her resources, I will send it to you in your email. So if you feel free to fill out that form in the description box, and then I will send the email to you with all the resources from Therese and the speaker before, which was Wilma. All right, so let us go on to our next speaker, Miss Shauna Hunter. Shauna Hunter is a trained Jamaican teacher with over 18 years experience. She began her teaching career as a computer teacher in Jamaica before relocating to Japan on the JET program. She has worked with the Sendai City of Board of Education, assisting Japanese teachers of English, and has also worked in Japanese private schools. She is a passionate educator who advocates for mental health and well-being for teachers by promoting psychological safety in the workplace for greater performance. She incorporates the practice of growth mindset and affirmation exercises in her teaching philosophy. She holds a Master of Science degree in applied psychology, specializing in mental health from the University of Liverpool, and she is certified. Her philosophy is anything worth doing is worth doing well. Ladies and
all right, we aren't hearing from Denise. I do hope that everyone is hearing. I think there's a technical difficulty that she's probably having. Can everyone hear me? You can just comment, just make a comment. If you can hear me, make a comment or just say yes. It's all clear on my side if you can hear. Okay, we're waiting to see if everything is okay on Miss Irving's side. Well, I just want to jump right into it. Thank you everyone for, coming on here, participating in the summit. Thank you so much. All right, excellent. I know there's probably technical difficulties that's happening, so I'm just going to move right along. And I must say that the presenters, I have been learning so much. So thank you so much, Miss Irving, for inviting me here, and also for the presenters who have been sharing a lot of information that I have been gaining from. And it's so good that the previous presenter, she shared very important information that I can probably piggyback on. So what I'm going to be looking at is morning meditation, a growth mindset approach. So I'm going to share with you what are the reasons we want to introduce this in the 21st century and why we need to introduce it. All right, so let's get right into it, shall we? Okay. So I'm going to jump right into it. And here we go. So my whole thing with morning meditation, it all began when I noticed that students were exhibiting the challenges of understanding their social and emotional learning. And I also noticed that for them, there was this, whenever they come into class, they were usually anxious, or they were exhausted. They had a lot on their plate. It was just a lot that was happening to these students. I also noticed that whenever I needed to provide feedback, or when they needed to provide feedback, there was always a challenge for them. And so I decided to look further into how I can best help my students understand the importance of feedback, how they can grow from that, and not only that, to develop positive self-talk. And so I began looking into growth mindset. So the more I investigated on the philosophy of it, I realized that this is something that I too agree with, and I wanted students to understand how much it can help them. There are moments where you would find students, if they fail at something or maybe they didn't perform well in, they would often get upset and refuse to move on, refuse to try. And I needed them to understand that in order for them to improve, they had to learn these things do happen. We may fail in one area, but it doesn't mean we need to leave it and move on to something else. We can actually use these mistakes as learning experiences. And so I decided to incorporate growth mindset in my class. As it relates to meditation, I noticed that students would often come in, they're exhausted, anxious. These students will study pretty much right around the clock. And so they had literally small breaks. And I had to find a way for them to calm, find a way to relax, understand what's happening to them, listen to how they interact with each other. And so I decided to incorporate meditation. And so I combined meditation and growth mindset in my morning routine. So the first thing I need us to look at is to understand what is meditation. So while I share this with you, I would like for you to just type below what you think meditation is, because this is something that we've been hearing. We know, excuse me, that there is a pandemic. And so a lot of people have been experiencing a lot of socio-emotional challenges right now. And so we've been advised to, do self-care, meditate, and that sometimes can be a difficult topic because we don't really understand what it is. So meditation, in a nutshell, it's simply a mental exercise that we use to strengthen awareness and to develop our attention. When we meditate, it helps to reduce the negative thoughts that we have, and it also enhances how we think of ourselves, how we think of what's happening around us, and be more aware of how we are feeling. So it's really it's an exercise, and there are different kinds of meditation. The one that I do promote for the classroom is loving kindness meditation, because that focuses on compassion, being patient, and learning how to relax in an educational setting. So that's the one that I incorporate in my class. So now that we have an understanding of the type of meditation, because there are many kinds, the one that we're focusing on is a loving kindness meditation for our children. After that, I want us to look at growth mindset. So growth mindset, and there's so many different thoughts of it, but what growth mindset is, it was developed by Professor Carol Dweck, and it is simply how we believe that when we understand that our talents, our abilities, we can actually improve on them. We can work on them through perseverance, trying, going through the process. And I think the previous presenter, she mentioned something, earlier. She said, I can always improve. And that is what growth mindset does. It is teaching our students that you can always improve. And for those students who are excelling, you can always build on. You can always build on your skills. You can build on your talent. As opposed to fixed mindset, most people, the thought with fixed mindset is that you believe that your talents, your skills, your intelligence is fixed. It's just what it is. I was born this way. And so that inhibits learning, changing, trying something new. So growth mindset is a part of how you can move from one stage to the next and go through the actual process. So now we've have an understanding of meditation, growth mindset. Now we need to look at, why do we need a morning routine in the 21st century of teaching? Why do we need this? And it's clear. When you think of a morning routine, it definitely sets the tone of the day. It really makes you stop, think about what you would like to accomplish. It slows you down, because some things we tend to miss because we don't have a routine. So it definitely sets the tone of the day. It also helps our students to be more organized and to manage their time. If we incorporate a routine for our students at this stage, they can take this skill in their lives. It's a lifelong learning. It's a life skill that they can use. So having a morning routine plays a significant role in everyone's life. Another thing is that you're more productive. And it cultivates a sense of balance. And most importantly, what I want us to look at, it reduces the stress and anxiety. Many times our students come to school, they are often bombarded by the different things that they need to get done. And so we find that without having a morning routine, this can make it quite a challenge. So here we have meditation, the loving kindness meditation. We have the growth mindset, and now we have a morning routine. We're going to put all these three together and see how best it can help our students in the 21st century. This is something that I'm sure some teachers have been using it, and I'm sure there are others who may think there's no time, but there's actually time, because the benefits far outweigh all of the things that we want to try and get done. Because we're going to look closely at why. Why do I need to incorporate a growth mindset meditation in my classroom? Is it essential right now? Why do I need, if for the teachers who have hybrid learning, because we know there's a pandemic, so some schools are conducting hybrid, some are having 100% face-to-face, and there are those who are having 100% online. So we have to take into consideration, how do we help our students go through this pandemic, and how do we help ourselves as educators go through this pandemic? And even when that is gone, this will always stay because of how we have reimagined education. A lot has changed, and so we have to change how we consider teaching and learning. And this definitely plays a significant role in developing our students' social and emotional learning. So let's look closely at how all these three come into connection. So if you notice, for meditation, these are the benefits when you do meditation. One, it builds your emotional and mental strength. It also helps you to get along with others. It makes you think. You actually sit with your thoughts, and you will realize how much, whether you have a more of a negative thought pattern or a positive thought pattern or balance, it allows you to really process what you're thinking. Then it also allows you to you develop, the skill of listening to others. You become a better listener. It also reduces the having that response of becoming easily upset. So whenever something that's negative that's happening, most times, when you notice the students in the class, maybe their response may not be favorable, and it's not necessarily that they're trying to, how would I say, they're trying to lash out, but most cases it's because they don't know how to self-regulate, which means how to manage their emotions. So meditation does play a key role in that. When you think of growth mindset, it really helps students' self-esteem, and it builds their confidence. It also develops grit and determination, and it reduces a negative self-talk. And that is something that's important. When students may not perform well, listen to how they respond. Some students will say, "Oh, I can't do it," or "I just can't be bothered." It's a sense, of course, for them, they feel a sense of defeat. With growth mindset, you are able to look at the same situation and say, okay, what part do I need to work on? What other strategy, something else, what else can I use so I can understand this? So it actually helps them to develop a more, not just positive, but find different ways and build new skills on approaching a challenge. So what if we blend a meditation and the growth mindset factor into our daily lives? The 4 core things that I would like to share with us, it enhances well-being. That's one of the main things. 2, it fosters self-regulation. That means it helps us to manage our emotions, our behaviors, our actions. 3, it reduces stress and anxiety. And like anyone, you do know that has increased over the years. And this year, it has hit the roof in so many ways, with stress, anxiety, and even depression. So it reduces these different psychological and mental distresses. And then it increases positive self-talk. So positive self-talk is how students communicate to themselves. How do we speak to ourselves when something is not going well? How do we move from one point to the next when something is challenging? So those are the 4 core areas I have discovered when we combine meditation and growth mindset. Now, please bear all of this in mind, because I will share with you how I incorporate all of this. And let me tell you, it's not long. The process itself is not long. Once you understand your class, once you understand the benefits, once you practice it, it will become a part of you, and you will find that when students see the benefits that it has on their lives, then of course they too will be a part of it without thinking, and you will watch their behavior. You'll notice their behavior change, their language, how they speak to each other, how they speak to themselves. It changes over time. So the first thing that I do, step one, this is what I do, is to set the tone. Usually when students come into class, think about it. Your students rush in at the door. Maybe they drop their bag, take out their books, and they're shuffling to get things done. And that's fine. They see their friends, they're interacting, all of these different things. So you allow them to do that. They have to mingle, catch up with their friends. But then when you're about to start, you need to set the tone. And the tone comes from, very practical, your voice. So you think of how you will speak. It's completely different from the way you teach. So you won't be talking to the students, oh, everyone, sit down, we're going to go on our meditation right now. Right there, it's the tone of it alone will not actually feel relaxing. So you set the tone, you allow them to sit, you instruct them, okay, boys and girls, or okay, everyone, now we're going to start our meditation. Okay, may you all have a seat. Sit in a position that's relaxing. And you spend that time. You slow down. You, the teacher or the parent who is homeschooling, you slow down that time. And that way it helps the students to get their thoughts together, sit and relax. And the next, after the tone, the position. So some teachers, it depends. Some of us, we will have our students seated, while some of us may have the students, lying on the floor. It all depends. With the given situation now, I would say have them remain seated on their chairs. And that way, because you want to make sure you're always thinking about safety as well, right? So you make sure that they are seated. You make sure that their environment is clear. So on their desk, no form of stationery, nothing should be seen. That way they realize, okay, I'm going to spend some time with myself and then with my friends. So you set that position. And then there's some practices. Breathing. You'll ask students to, take slow breaths and to calm them. And I'm telling you, even the student that seem like things are just not going well, oh my goodness, and then you can see the panic. Believe me, once you have them taking the slow breath, the breathing exercise, it helps to calm them. And then you use slow stretches. So they stretch, slow stretches, or they can roll their shoulders, roll their heads, all these different things. Let them stretch their bodies and feel what's happening. And it does relax students. And I've heard a lot of students come up to me and they would say, now they feel fine. Their bodies feel fine. And you can tell. And even for us too, as adults, when we touch, we realize we are tense. The moment we start to do slow stretches, we realize that has helped us as well. And then after that, reflection. So what I do at this stage, I will give students the time for them to think about something that they may find a challenge, and see how best they would like to approach it. What is happening at that stage is that students are developing problem-solving skills. Most times we develop problem-solving skills. We have conversations and discussions in class, which is good, but we also want them to be independent on how they can develop this skill and find creative ways. So at this stage, I would ask them to think of something that they may find a challenge. And it doesn't have to be classwork. It could be something that they want to say to their friends or some activity they want to try, but if they find it challenging, how can they approach it today? So give them that space to reflect. So that's the first step. The next one is self-affirmation. And with self-affirmation, I use growth mindset statements so that students can affirm themselves. So I have here very simple ones, you know. So what I would do, I would say to the students, I will try my best today. And they repeat that statement. Or if something is difficult for me, I will ask for help. Because growth mindset is not, there's a myth thinking growth mindset is just effort and doing it on your own. No, growth mindset is asking for the help and being receptive to the feedback. So statements like these I would say, and I would ask students to repeat them. After a while, I will say to them, now tell yourself something else. So you are developing how to self-affirm, and they develop their own statements to affirm themselves. So that's the second stage that I take with the whole meditation. Now, step 3, once they are finished, and I should say, before that, let me go back. For step 2, most times I would ask students to close their eyes. Because of course, students, they're going to be looking at their friends, left, right, looking at their friends. So I would ask them to close their eyes and to repeat these statements, and then of course tell themselves something. Now for the next step, they will now open their eyes and they will affirm their friends. Because you also want them to, the key thing is to change the language, how they communicate to themselves, how they communicate with their peers, and then how they communicate when they get home. It's not just within school, because what it does, it actually helps them to build these core skills within themselves. So, of course, I would start them off how they can affirm their friends. So something like, if you need help, I will help you. Keep trying, you can do it. And statements like that. And they would say these things to their friends, these different affirmations. But I would also take this time for students to come up with their affirmation statements for their friends. And it's a beautiful thing to see how they look at each other and how they communicate with each other. And it's interesting, the students when they are receiving these affirmation statements, the smile on their faces to know that their classmates think of them like that. Now, one of the key things to this section of the meditation is you have to make sure that students are affirming those around them, and then you can ask students to go around and affirm their friends, anyone else, because you don't want to leave it up to them and say, oh, just go affirm someone, because chances are you may find students not receiving any affirmation from anyone. So you have to somewhat ask them, someone who is sitting next to you, the person who is behind you, say something to them, and then after that you allow them to go to someone else. So that's the step 3 of how you affirm others in your morning meditation. And then for step 4, for this growth mindset meditation, and this is optional, you can have affirmation poem. Now this that you're looking at, it's a poem I wrote for students, and to this date, these students, they actually know the poem. And the funny thing is, they would start their day with this statement and this poem. And I have been using this for several years. And I remember I forgot to start this, I think it was a session, and I forgot to go through this poem. And students are like, we need to say our who am I? We have to say that. And so you realize that it wasn't just going through the timetable. No, they understood now the importance of the different stages of their morning meditation. In fact, I remembered I needed to do an exam I think it was a Japanese test, and I was practicing. And I just openly said, "Oh, this is so difficult." And a student, he was practicing and he heard, and he turned and said to me, "Miss Hunter, you're using fixed mindset right now." And I turned and I said to myself, "Yes, you're right." So I asked him, "What do you think I could say?" He said, "Oh, you just have to keep trying, and you ask for help." So that right there showed me that it wasn't just a ritual. They were actually applying these different statements, these growth mindset approaches, the meditation, how to respond, how to give advice throughout the day, and how they interact with their friends. So that to me was the whole process of it. I could see where it was actually working. So the next thing is where to begin. And this can be a little bit daunting, and I do understand that so much is happening. So I would say make it simple. Make it simple. Spend time to learn how you would want to incorporate the different stages. And let me just say, you don't have to use all the different strategies I've mentioned. You can find the one that you say, okay, let me start off with this first, and see how best you can incorporate it in your class. It's important to have a schedule and have a plan. Be consistent, because if you say, okay, class, I'm going to start something new, and then in the next 2 weeks you forget about it, then the students will not take it seriously. So make sure that you have a plan and be consistent. Explain it. Many times we don't necessarily explain to students some things, and no matter how young they are, it's important that you explain to students why you're doing something. That way they are able to, one, they're able to understand why I need to do this. So make sure they understand, explain to them. And also you can start off by saying, class, I would like to try this with you because I want to work on this too. You can make it a class mission, so always explain what you're doing and why, explain the why behind what you're doing. Model it. If we do not practice what we believe, students may not buy into what we're doing. And you may find students are reluctant in trying it and losing out on the benefits of how a morning meditation with a growth mindset approach can help them. So you have to model it. So the key thing you need to ask yourself, do I really believe this can work for me, for my students? Why do I need to incorporate this? The moment you start to question and then you start to investigate and practice these statements with yourself, practice it throughout your teaching, then you will realize, and the students will see, okay, it's not just another activity or another something on the checklist to check off. No, they will see that this is something that you actually believe in and you like for them to gain the benefits as well. And then lastly, try it. You will never know until you try. You'll never know until you try. So the most important thing is to try. At the end of the day, what we want to know is that anything that we start in a classroom, it's going to take time. It's going to take patience. And with growth mindset, the beauty about growth mindset, it's a process. I want us to also remember that we all carry growth and fixed mindset. We all carry those. The thing is, there are moments where growth mindset has to be more dominant. So understand that you're going to meet upon, even for us, when you think about the whole process of a morning meditation, you may have a sense of, I'm not sure this will work. Okay, you know that, okay, that will take time. Everything takes time. And so with growth mindset and a meditation applied, we can achieve this that is, I truly believe, is well needed in the classroom. We do need to help our students to navigate what's happening to them and for them to understand how to navigate their lives with their peers and within themselves. With that being said, if you have any questions, any feedback whatsoever, please let me know. I do have, of course, a giveaway. If those of you who are interested in wanting to learn more about, morning meditation with a growth mindset approach, please feel free. All right. Feel free to contact me. Now, I'm going to ask a question.
Yes, I think that's what we need to do.
Yes.
So thank you, Shauna. But before we move on to the next speaker, Shauna has a great giveaway. Shauna, tell people what you are giving away.
Yes. So my giveaway is you will have an hour of free consultation on how to incorporate a growth mindset morning meditation into your class. I will go through the different steps on how you can, what to do, what things that you can say so that you can build this into your classroom. So 1 hour of free consultation.
So it's 1 free hour. Yes. Yes. We are excited because we're happy teachers, right?
Yes.
So, a question that people can answer to get this prize. Go ahead with your question.
Good. So, I want you to give me at least one. What is a benefit? What is a benefit for incorporating a growth mindset meditation in your classroom? Share one benefit.
So we'll choose the person that answers correctly, right? The first person that answers correctly.
The first person that
repeat the question again, Shauna.
Please share a benefit for having a growth mindset meditation in your classroom. Name one benefit.
All right, so we're waiting. We're waiting. We can't wait to give away these prizes.
Yes.
Who is gonna answer first? Who has the first benefit? I'm waiting for persons to write down their answer.
Yes.
Time. We want to say thank you, Shauna, and her email address on. But if you are interested in getting the e-certificate, you can look in the description box, fill out that form, and I will send you Shauna's information, and we have a winner.
Wow.
Who is this? Gertrudes Tolentino states students could start a great class and being confident. Is that the winner?
Yes.
Is that the first person that has the?
Wow, and so many answers.
All right, so we have a winner. Gertrudes. So many answers coming in. Develop empathy. Enhances well-being. It sets the tone of the day. You feel less. You're motivated. I mean, it's just ruined. All right, but we have Miss Tolentino. So she is our prize winner. So Shauna, I want you to reach out to Miss Tolentino on YouTube and try to get her email address. Also, Shanique, who is my assistant, will also reach out to Miss Tolentino to get her email address.
Okay.
Bye. Okay, so Miss Tolentino says she's from Lima, Peru. Oh, Congratulations. Yes, so Shauna has her international consultation to give.
Of course.
So thanks again, Shauna.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure. Of course, we will be inviting you to our next seminar, webinar, and that we have. We are now on to the next speaker of the day. So, how are you guys feeling today? I mean, I am feeling good, feeling happy. I am blessed. Let us follow Shauna's tips by meditating, relaxing, and trying to enjoy or the moment that we're in, trying to just be in the moment, not thinking too far ahead of the cares of tomorrow, and not remembering the past, but just staying right here in the moment and being happy. Before on our next speaker, before we move on to our next speaker, we have a 1 minute for those who want to get something to drink, use the bathroom or the restroom. We are gonna have a 1 minute break for you. All right. So go on now, get your 1 minute break, and we will back in 1 minute. So don't go far. And welcome back. We had just a short intermission for person who wanted to grab something to drink, use the restroom, or just relax. This is our 21st Century for Educators Virtual Summit. I am your host, Venice Irving, and it is my pleasure to join you in our second component, our second part of our virtual summit. How have you been enjoying it? I do hope that you've been having a lovely time meeting people in the comment section. This is a great networking session, isn't it? Meeting people from all over the world, from as far as Rwanda, Peru, South Africa, America, UK, Ecuador, everywhere we have persons streaming in from. We have our own locals here in Jamaica who are joining us and listening to great strategies, great content from our speakers. So we thank all our speakers that have spoken thus far, Mr. Wilmer Calaguazo, Miss Therese Morris, and Miss Shauna Hunter. We are on to our next speaker now, but before we move on, just take a minute, just relax, practice Shauna's meditation technique. Breathe in Breathe out. We are ready to take on the day. We have a positive mindset. We are teachers and we will best that we can with the resources that we have. So let's move on to our next presenter. And our next presenter is Shakira Mesquita. Shakira Mesquita is a trained educator from Jamaica. In college, she made a drastic turn, going from a high school dropout to being the longest serving female student leader in her school's 158 years history, serving 4 consecutive years and closing out the year as the Guild's president. She is the founder and coordinator of the Arakabessa High School program, which promotes personal development and social development for sustainable living to high school students. She is also an entrepreneur who operates an online empowerment service business. In summer 2020, she made the top 50 Amazon best-selling author in the self-help category with her first book, Making the Target: Tips on Increasing Your Productivity Level. She currently holds a bachelor's degree in education, and she believes in creating balance and enjoying life by the mantra. Time, value it, and spend it wisely. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Miss Shakira Mesquita. We are ready, Shakira. So her topic today is productive teacher, balancing work and life. So Shakira, take it away.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Miss Irvin and the Happy Teachers Summit for putting on such a wonderful program. I mean, strategies that are amazing. I'm learning. I have my teachers, my colleagues who are on from Arakabessa High School. I see persons from all over the world, and they are having a blast in the chat, sharing what they are learning. And so we thank the organizers for this opportunity. All right. So, as expressed earlier, I will be sharing on the productive teacher, balancing life and work. So we are here for the 21st century teaching strategies a productive teacher can balance work and life. So from the introduction, you would have heard, I am a teacher, I'm an entrepreneur, I do speaking, and I'm an author, and I also, a part of my business is where I do productivity coaching. How do I manage all of this? We're going to learn about these things today. So just for an overview, at the end of this session, we should be able to say, all right then, any educator at all can achieve the productive and the balanced status once you have the right mindset, once you have strategies, once you have tools, and you are disciplined. And I'm answering a question that I'm going to ask. Balance is not a myth, nor is it impossible for educators who are productive, goal-oriented, and priority-driven. So if you want to be balanced, you just need to understand that, guess what? You have to be goal-oriented, you need to be priority-driven, what matters to you, and naturally, you have to be productive. So the first thing we want to look at is the productive educator, right? And so we'll be looking at components, some components of a productive teacher, and we also want to look at how a productive teacher can operate during the COVID-19 pandemic that we are now experiencing. One of the first components is have a productive mindset. Now, my colleague just now, all the way in Japan, Ms. Hunter, spoke to us about the growth mindset. And here I am now talking to you about another mindset, which is the productive mindset. Now, the productive mindset, it takes into account the growth mindset. First, you have to have the mindset that, all right, then, we're going through a pandemic. First, accept that what is happening, you have no control over it, right? But you want to learn how to maneuver during this time. Then you take it up a notch now. So after moving from the growth mindset, you want to get into an activated mindset. So you already have the thought in your mind that, okay, then I can learn how to maneuver during this time. Let me learn what are some things that I can do, and you actually do them. So that is you operating the activated mindset when you start doing. Now you move up to another level, which is the productive mindset, when you are thinking about the ability to do it, when you are doing it, and when you are doing it consistently. Because productivity has to do with you being efficient and you being effective, right? So first component, cover having a productive mindset. Be knowledgeable of your expectations, right? You want to be knowledgeable of what is expected of you. In general, before this pandemic came about, we needed to be knowledgeable about what is expected of us as educators. And there's no change now that we are going through a pandemic. So what is this new norm? How do I function in this new norm? What is expected of me? What are the requirements? How do I go about doing remote learning? How do I go about teaching online? I need to know in order for me to be productive. Be strategic. All right, then now, how will I now share my safe space with my workspace? For many of us, at this point in time in the pandemic, we are still working from home. Some persons, they were given the go-ahead to go back to school, and luckily for them, they can use the resources that are at school, the internet, the computers, the different technology. But teachers who are in Jamaica, they have to depend on their own resources. And unfortunately, sometimes it's not at the best standard, but we have to just do with what we have. So first thing you think about, how will I now share my safe space, which is your home? This was a place that when school ends, you come here, you close your windows, you pull down the blinds, students don't see you, parents don't see you, this is your safe haven. That's a no-no. It's no more. It's no longer your safe haven. And so now you have to turn it into your workspace. You have to decide, how are you going to do that? Are you going to have to make some physical changes? Who do you need to make this change possible, right? What are some things, some resources that you will need? Let us say, for example, you are in Jamaica. For us who are in Jamaica, and we had to buy data service. Now you probably need to look into getting the actual internet service at home, because buying data to do this online thing, it's very expensive and it can be very unstable. All right, then who do I need? Do I need some resource personnel? Do I need to hire a help to help with the kids while I'm working? You have to decide how are you going to work through this? So you create a strategy. What needs to be done? Who do you need? And what resources do you need? The final component here is to be consistent. what I do repeatedly, especially if it works, it makes things become manageable. Now, let me put myself quickly in the position of a productive teacher. Now, when this whole pandemic started in March, here in Jamaica, basically, we got our hit in March. I was not into this whole online thing. Definitely not into this whole online thing. I didn't want to do it as a teacher. I didn't want to do it as a learner. Now it's here. What do? I had to now tap into my mind, right? I had to tap into my mind. Then when I tap into my mind and I convince myself that, look here, this is here. You have no control over this. This is your job. You want to do this. I make sure to ask myself the question, do you want to do this? Do you want to stay in the system during this time, seeing that you still have to work? My answer was a yes. All right, for your answer is a yes, young lady. What are you going to do? What do you need to do? I need to become knowledgeable on the LMS, the different learning management system. So I start teaching myself how to use the different learning management system, and then I get help where it needs to be. So I got resource personnel to help me become strategic now, right? I had to stop and I had to think. The regular work routine that I had or timetable that I was using, can I use it now that I'm in a pandemic? I'm working from home. The kids they don't have the same resources that I have there at home. They may not have the internet. I have the internet. Can I go on the internet all the time to reach them? I have to now come up with a strategy. All right, then be consistent. No, this is a first for me. It's hard at first, but if I keep trying, if I keep using it, being consistent, it becomes easier, right? And so let us now look at the productive educator during COVID-19. So as I said before, change your mindset. Opposed to sitting and thinking about what was, think about what is happening now. And what is happening now, you have no control over it. However, you can learn how to maneuver in this time. So you change your mindset. You start from the mind. Then you familiarize yourself with the LMS being used by your school. Schools across the world, they are using different systems. Some of them, they have customized systems that they use. Some of us, we are using Google Classroom. Some persons are using Moodle. Some are using Edmodo, Schoology, whatever it may be. Familiarize yourself with the system. If you want to be productive, you have to know how to use the tools that are available to you. If you are unable to use the tools that are available to you, you are sending a message. One, I need to learn, or if I don't want to learn, it means that I'm getting out of this system. I'm getting out of this space, right? So for me, since as you decide that you're going to stay in the system, familiarize yourself with the systems being used. Use your timetable to create an overall work schedule. How we go about this now? Okay, so I have a timetable and it tells me that I start working from 8:30 and work stops at 2:30. I can now decide that, all right, then I'm working from home. My workday starts at 8:30. It ends at 2:30 officially, but I do have paperwork to do. I do have papers to mark. So I'm going to give them an extra 2 hours. So I can review what worked, what did not work. I can mark some assignments that were given, or I can do my register. I can prepare whatever report that needs to be sent off to one of my administrators who will be sending off whatever report to the ministry. I give them an extra 2 hours. So that is my work. That is how I use my timetable to create my overall work schedule. Granted, no, I'm also a business owner. No, I'm not going to sell myself short as an educator. I'm not going to put my main earning, which is as a teacher, on the back burner because I'm now a business owner. No, I'm not going to do that, right? So I make sure to schedule my work hours after I've completed the government's work. So I still have clients in the days, but I make sure not to schedule them when I would be teaching. So I use my timetable to create that overall work schedule for me, who I interact with. Okay, then, so on this day, my timetable is light. It means that I can probably finish work before 2:30, and I can go out to dinner, go out with family. I use my timetable to create an overall schedule, create a flexible routine. Now, in creating this flexible routine, for us here in Jamaica, I'm speaking to my Jamaican teachers now, and for anybody across the world that is using, let us say, for example, you are doing hybrid learning, which means that you are working online and you're also working offline to facilitate students who are unable to actually make it online because they lack the resources, they can't afford it. What I do is this: I decide from my timetable, all right, then this week I may have straight live classes. So all my students who can come online, I have straight live classes with them for this week. Next week, I'm not going to have live classes with them. I'm going to schedule work for them to do. And whatever work we did during the live class, when they upload it, I use that time to mark those work so I don't have a backlog of work to do. Or for the live sessions, opposed to going live for the entire 1 hour that I would have them, or however much time I may have them, I may say, all right, then I'll cut the sessions in two. So one session, I go live with them, I interact with them, I share content with them. And then for the next session, I actually give them a break to go and do the assignment, have them pace themselves, and then I give them a time period when they can submit it. And the time period, sometimes it's outside of school hours. So I don't say to them, let me get it in the next 30 minutes or the next 40 minutes. I may say, let me get it at the end of school, or 30 minutes after school ends, or 40 minutes, 1 hour after school ends. Yes. So I create a flexible routine so that my students, they can manage, because this is also new for them, just as how it is new for me. The next thing that we have to do as productive educators during COVID-19 is take breaks, rejuvenate. This is something new, and it puts a lot of pressure on our mental state. Take breaks. When the school's timetable says break time, the kids can go and have bathroom break, drink water, I take my break too, and I close my eyes, I do breathing exercise, I go to the restroom, I wash my face, and I take my break. When it's lunchtime, I go and I have my lunch and I relax myself. I cut my tent, put up my foot, raise my hands, relax myself, do some flexing, exercise myself, right? I rejuvenate. I don't just wait until the weekend or when school is on holiday. No, every day I get an opportunity to rejuvenate, I take it. And here's another critical thing. As a productive educator during COVID-19, say no to unnecessary rules. Learn to say no. Your friends, they may be asking you, oh, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Look at the situation that you're in. Can you really afford to give an extra minute, an extra hour, extra week of your time to someone? Say no. Don't guilt trip yourself. Say no. At school, I've seen persons ask me, oh, Miss Mosquito, would you like to join this this committee? I think you would do well on this committee. Oh my gosh, sir, thank you. Thank you for considering me, but the answer is no. My hands are tied, I'm sorry. Yes, I have learned to say no. Not to everything, but if I realize that I will not be able to give it my 100%, or it is going to affect my teaching time, my teaching learning time, it's going to affect me operating my business, it's going to affect family time, the answer is no. It's going to affect sleeping time, the answer is no. Now let us pause, and I want you to look at this. As an educator, did you know you are extraordinary? We are like superheroes without capes. We are superheroes with red ink pens, dusters, markers, registers, and a whole lot of content to deliver. Those are our weapons, right? As an educator, you are extraordinary. You are parents, you are spouses for those who have kids and who are married. You are teachers, you are the resource personnel in your community. I know for a fact in my community, if a child is applying for a job, they find me to look on their resumes and their application letter. If somebody dies, they ask me to read the eulogy or write it and read it. I know for church, I'm asked to take minutes, I'm asked to share this, I'm asked to do that, because what they look at you as an educator, so you should be able to do. We are extraordinary beings. At home, you are the disciplinarian, you are a teacher, you are the nurse. We are extraordinary. Big up your extraordinary self. And for those who are international, I'm just saying simply, when I say big up, I'm just saying you're awesome, you're great, you're a big deal. Now, we are working from home, guys. We are working in our safe zone. Our safe zone is now work zone. We need to establish some interruption rules if we're going to be productive. What are you saying, Miss Mesquita? Turn off your notification on your devices during work hours. So remember, we just said, all right, then you establish work time. You set your work time. We want to turn off the notifications that way. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, for those who are young at heart, YouTube, those notifications are not popping up. Some of us, we use our phones to teach. Imagine you are teaching with your phone and the thing going beep, 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 pop, 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 interrupting the lesson, interrupting your train of thought. No, they keep spinning and pinging and pinging, and you want to know what is happening. While you're working, just turn it off. That way you can keep the focus and effectively do your job. That way, you know, when you get off and you're on your me time, you can look at all of those things. Establish work hours. It is not social time. We spoke about establishing work hours, and we have to say it again. With this pandemic going on and we are working from home, one, if we do not establish work hours, we don't stop working. We keep riding the waves. So one, when we establish work hours, it lets us know you're on now, you're off now. And then that note that says it's not social time, it goes for all the persons who think that because you're at home and this is not the normal setting, they can come and interact with you. No, I'm still at work. Don't call me during 8:30 and 2:30. I'm at work. Don't think that we can chit chat during 8:30 and 2:30. I'm working. I am working. The next thing that you can do is create routines for your young children and encourage them to follow it. Now, a question was asked to one of our speakers earlier, if when it comes to preschool kids, do you create a strict routine or a flexible routine? Right throughout, I encourage flexible routines, but ensure that you have a structure and your kids are able to follow the structure. Get creative. You may just teach them the time while you are getting them involved in the routine that is now at home. Remember, you know, when you were at home, before this whole COVID-19, this pandemic came about, our kids, they were used to us being at home and it's their time. They come and they piggyback right on you and they ask you all the whys. Why is this? Why is that? No, you are at home. You have to now change the way how they think and view you at home. So you may say to them, all right, let us look at the clock today, honey. When you see the clock showing that time, which is 8 o'clock, and you teach them what 8 o'clock is, where the long hand should be, where the short hand should be, and you say to them, when you look on the outside and it's still daylight and it's on that time, you shouldn't talk to mommy. Or when you hear this alarm, that means that mommy's at work and you have to be quiet, right? Or when you hear this alarm going off, it means that it's our time. You can come, you can hug, kiss, and all the good stuff with mommy or daddy. And another thing that you can do in order to establish interruption rules is to ensure that your family gets attention so they don't crave it. Wives, ensure that your husbands, they're getting time with you. Husbands, ensure that your wives are getting time with you. Mommy, daddy, ensure that you are spending quality time with the kids outside of the teaching period. That way, while you're working, they're not craving the hugs and the kisses and the attention. Give them their attention, because I'm sure, ladies, you wouldn't want your husband to come and close down the laptop screen and say, honey, hey, what's up, girl? And gentlemen, I'm sure you would want your wife to be standing in the corner with her hands folded and her lips all puckered out. Honey, when are you coming to bed? And I'm sure you don't want the kids to be crying, Mommy, you don't love me anymore. Daddy, you're not spending any time. We used to play this game. I want to do this. Give them the attention. That way they don't become clingy. All right. So now we're going to move into a little challenge. So here is the challenge. Here's a challenge. Multitasking is a myth. Now, I am a certified productivity coach, and I'm telling you, some experts may say to you, multitasking is an important skill to have. It is good to learn how to multitask, right? And here I am as an expert telling you that multitasking is a myth, and we're going to do a challenge. And here is the quick challenge. You're going to listen to me attentively, and then you're going to listen to me attentively, and at the same time, you are going to write a sentence that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. All right, so let me repeat. You are going to listen to me attentively right now as I speak, and you're going to write a sentence that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about at this point in time. Let's go. So multitasking is a myth. You have some experts who will encourage you to learn how to multitask. As an expert, I would suggest that you learn how to operate in a high demand environment. I say to you that multitasking is a myth, because it is hard for you to simultaneously do two things and give it equal attention. Chances are you would give one more attention than the other. End of challenge. Now, I want you to put in the chat, did you listen attentively and simultaneously write the sentence that had nothing to do with multitasking? Or did you start listening and then proceed to write the sentence? Or did you write the sentence and not listen to me attentively? All right. So Miss Irvin, she said that she was able to listen attentively and write the sentence. And honestly, you are one of the few person. So here we have Maureen, who said, listen to you attentively. So chances are you are either going to do one or the other. Now imagine you are teaching a lesson in your class and someone is talking to you and they expect a response from you while you are teaching the lesson. Chances are you're going to have the person wait and you continue with what you're doing, or you stop the lesson and you respond to the person. All right, so I started to do both, but then I stopped because I was more interested in what you had to say. I couldn't disconnect myself from your talking. All right, so let us continue. All right, so we just did a challenge and we are now going to continue with the second portion of the presentation, where we're now going to look at balancing. As educators, how do we balance? I want to share this with you. Your life does not revolve around your job. Let me say that again. Your life does not revolve around your job as an educator. I don't care what occupation you hold, lawyer, judge, policeman, chief, your life does not revolve around your job. You are more than the position you hold. I asked the question earlier in the overview. Is balance a myth? No, it's not a myth. You have the ability to work, have family time, relax. You just have to know how to do it. And I'm going to share some of the things that I do and what I know other experts do. How can educators effectively manage their jobs, family, and personal life? One of the first things is to prioritize your time and interest. Prioritize your time and interest. Add value to the time you have available and do things that are important to you. When I say add value to the time that you have available, if I have, let us say, for example, I have the available time that I have, I would really want to use it to relax and to rejuvenate and to clear my headspace. And I have a friend, she doesn't have an issue, it's not a life and death issue, she just wants to go out and to hang. Really and truly, I realized that my body cannot manage to do this. I'm going to value my time, the time that I need to rest, and I'm going to pass. Value, add value to the time that is available to you and do the things that are important. Prioritize things that are important to you. It could be your family, it could be your business, it could be your job. Put priority on those things. The next thing is to delegate and understand that you cannot serve everyone. Though we are extraordinary and we are like superheroes, we cannot serve everyone. I can tell you, not all of us want Batman to come and save us. Some of us want Superman or probably Green Lantern, right? Delegate. What do I mean by that? In my household, delegating is like this. You are in charge of going to pay that particular bill. You are in charge of looking after dinner tonight. You are in charge of cleaning. You are in charge of doing. We delegate that way. One person, even though they have the ability to do all those different things, you find the different persons around you who have the ability to go and pay the bill. You send that person. You can clean the yard. You go and do the yard. You can cook and not burn the food and make it taste nice and have all the nice seasoning. You go and you cook. Some persons in the chat may say, I'm a single parent. What do I do? I'm going to tell you later. Don't think I'm leaving you out. All right. The next thing you can do is to have set work hours. Here we go again. Set work hours. Yes. If you are not careful, especially during this pandemic, you will work yourself to a wreck, especially if you are at home. You are in a natural comfort zone. You become so comfortable, you don't know where the time is going. You're just working. No. Set your time. 8:30, I start working. My alarm goes off. 2:30, work ends here. I move on to preparing dinner, loving on my kids, doing whatever, going out for dinner with the girls, whatever the case may be. Set work hours. The next thing is to set me time. Ensure that you have time for yourself. Establish time for yourself. You can ask on your aunt or the kids' aunt, grandma, the dad, husband, to, look after the kids, and you go check yourself into a spa, get your back rub, get a facial, a pedicure, a manicure. Go and sit in the park, take some deep breaths and just Don't have the kids in your ears. Just have some alone time. Sometimes that's all we need, some alone time. You may say, I don't have any mom, husband, whatever. Get them into the daycare for the day, a couple hours, and just relax yourself. We can do some stress tension relief exercise. Work out, do some exercise, cardio, whatever it may be. For me, I love to walk, and I go on what I call gratitude walks. With all that is happening, things can be so overwhelming and so depressing and so stressful. But when I go on these walks, I choose to focus on all the things that are going right, and I show gratitude. I say, God, I thank you for this. And some of the times when I look at the amount of things that I'm grateful for, they far outweigh the bad things. They far outweigh the bad things that are happening around me. Meditate. Earlier we heard about meditating. Find a quiet place. Breathe in, breathe out. Think about all the things that are good. Meditate. Manage your mind. Instead of waiting until you are overwhelmed or you're going through a mental breakdown, take bits and pieces of time for yourself. As I said earlier, when I'm at work, though I'm at home, once the timetable says it's break time, and that break time is where the kids would go and they would wash their hands, well, I take a break and I breathe and I stretch. I don't wait until I feel fatigued by the third lesson. No, I take my breaks. And it can be a thing where weekend breaks as well. You go on some staycation, vacation. Staycation meaning a hotel down the road within the county, parish, wherever you are. Go to the beach, relax yourself, soak your feet. Operate in your strengths, eliminate sense of overwhelm. No, this is for persons. This doesn't have anything to do with like the teaching aspect of it. This has to do with persons who, as it relates to your personal life. Like, for example, you want to start a business and stuff. Now, 2020 happens to be one of the year where we become clear that, hey, life is short. And so you want to do all the things that, you desire to do. But the truth is this: operate in your strength. Don't try and do everything that you desire to do now because you realize what is happening. You're going to overwhelm yourself. So you just take your time and say, I'm very good at cooking. I'm very good at this. All right, let me take one thing this year or this month. Next month, I'll try. Take your time and operate in your strength in bits and bite sizes. That way you don't overwhelm yourself. This definitely goes for my teachers, especially my Jamaican teachers. Do not give the ministry all your weekends. I'm against it. Do not give the ministry all your weekends. Do not give your administrators, the principals, all those people. Do not give them all your weekends. What do I mean by this? We often hear teachers in our circles on the weekend, I have to do lesson plans. I need this and that tomorrow. No, you may get this weekend from me, but you're not getting next week. You may get 2 weekends back to back, but you're not getting the entire month, all those weekends in the month. No, sorry, sir. It's not going to happen. Rest, rejuvenate, relax, spend time with your family, do something that you want to do. Your life does not revolve around your job. Go on dates with your spouse. Have games night with the kids and your spouse. Go on, have a girls' night out, a boys' night out. Gentlemen, go out with the guys. Go to the pub, drink a few juice and just talk, have joke. Go and watch a game, something. Girls, because I know Keisha, Julia, the whole English department at Orocabessa High School where I teach, we'll be going to have some seafood in the next parish sometime soon. Yeah, we're going out. Come on, man, go out. Plan for your days, create routines. Now, earlier I said delegate, and I said I'm not leaving out the single parents. Plan your days. What do I mean by this? This is one thing that I do. I am the sole female in my house, and I have big men, big boys dealing with, right? And they need to eat. But guess what? I'm not going to get up every day and eat. And I'm sure my brother, he can cook, but he doesn't want to do it every day. My dad, he can cook. He doesn't want to do it every day. So I may do something like this. It's Sunday. I'm going to cook chicken. I'm going to cook fish. I'm going to do some other meat kind. It could be beef, whatever it may be. And what does this mean? Sunday, you eat some of this. Monday, you eat some of that. Tuesday, you're going to have some of this. And then we may just roll back. Yeah. Plan out the days. You are a single parent. It's hard for you to juggle being a good mom or a good dad, doing your 9 to 5, your teaching job, preparing the meals and checking the homeworks, and it's hard. So for some things, plan ahead. Do meal plans. If you can afford it, get an extra hand to come in and help to supervise the kid while you are working. All right? So plan your days and create routines. Who is on this week? Grandma will be babysitting, uncle will be babysitting, aunt who? Plan and create routines and get as much persons who you trust involved. All right. Now, breaking news. I don't want you guys to forget this. You are a person first and a teacher second. Remember this. You are a person first and a teacher second. Manage yourself. Love yourself. Ensure that you are preserving yourself, your mind, and your whole physical being. And just to close out, before we get into the question and answers and the prizes, remember this. You are more than an educator. Instead of trying to do all you desire, prioritize according to your strengths and what matters to you. All right. Are we ready for the giveaways? Are we ready? Are we ready? Let's do this, guys.
I am ready.
You are ready? All right. I am ready too. I'm extra ready. All right, so let's do this.
We
now,
are ready
guys.
to give away something. Tell us what you're going to give away.
Are you seeing what's in my hand? I have a book in my hand by the title of Making the Target, Simple Tips on Increasing Your Productivity Level by yours truly. This book is on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version or you can get the hard copy on Amazon as well. If you are in Jamaica, you can link me up to get your copy. But somebody right now, right here, is going to get a copy of this book. Miss Irvin, do you have the question ready?
Well, I would like you to pose the question based on one of your slides.
All right.
Pose a question that you think someone can answer, because I know everyone was, intensely. So what question that you have for persons for that?
Okay. All right. So tell me one way you can be balanced as an educator. How can you balance your work, your life, job, one way, and you get this book? One way. It doesn't matter where you are. I am willing to ship to you because I want you to get this book in your hands. One way.
You can also send them the e-copy on Amazon, right?
All right. So you can. All right. Let me see if I can actually put something in the chat.
Okay.
All right.
But
in the chat, no.
In the meantime, asking.
So I'm waiting for someone to answer. Relaxing. All right, very good. You can relax, rejuvenate. That's a good way.
Well, somebody said breathing, relaxing. Yes.
Yes, it's the same person. It's the same person. All right, good, very good. All right.
Same person. So Rosanna Maria Ceballos Trellis. Rosanna.
Yes.
You are the
Congratulations.
winner.
Is it possible for us to get her?
Congratulations.
Is it possible for us to get her information? That way I can get the book to her. Where can she
Yes,
share her
my
information?
assistant is online, Shanique.
All right.
Just reach out to Rosanna. So Shanique, I'm sure you're hearing me, Shanique. Reach out to Rosanna so that you can call her email address and that we can send her her prize. So I was saying, Shakira, that you could send her an email copy, an e-copy rather. Instead of sending the hard copy, you can send an e-copy if you so desire.
Yes, if I
and
so
Rosanna,
desire.
where
All
are
right.
you
And
streaming
then,
from? You from Peru? Go ahead, Shakira. Go ahead.
all right. So I'm the giveaway queen around here, guys. So for every single person who is in the chat right now, listen up. You can now have your own copy of the Golden Action Planner. It is yours. It is yours. Every single person who is online now, you can get a copy of this. How? You can type in your browser bit.ly/get golden, GOALDEN. So put that in the chat for me.
Is bit.ly/get golden, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm gonna put that in to see. So they go there and they can get the copy.
Golden as in
right?
Wait, GOALDEN as in goal, to achieve a goal.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Let me do that one more time.
All right. Any questions?
Please double check. GETGOALDEN, correct?
Yes, GOALDEN.
All right, so I'm posting that. So
there we go.
Hey, we got resources, we got prizes, we are giving away.
All right.
All right.
Very good.
So we want to thank Kira for coming on. I didn't see any questions. So it's as if everyone was just having a great time and no one had questions for Shakira.
Really?
All right. So thank you so much, Shakira. We thoroughly enjoyed that presentation on being a productive teacher. And we know we're looking forward to seeing many more things from you in the future. Thanks again so much, Shakira, for being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure so far bringing you educators, speakers from all over the world. And today I want to share a little tidbit with you on how you can manage your self-care strategies and how you can form great boundaries. All right. So we are forming our self-care boundaries. I would like you to take a screenshot of this picture. I want you to look, think, and feel what we're trying to do right now. Listen to the music. Relax. Take a deep breath in and out. One more time in and out. The first boundary is, I will take care of myself first. Yes, you have family. Yes, you have students. But if you don't take care of yourself first, you will not be able to take care of anyone else. So your health must come first. Your emotional health, mental health, and physical health. Teachers, take care of yourself first. Next, I will not allow others to guilt or manipulate me into doing things I'm uncomfortable with. If there are things that is making you uncomfortable, find a way to speak out. If you are non-confrontational, then write an email or speak to your supervisor about the uncomfortable situation. The next one is, I will honor my emotional needs. Feel your emotions. Are you sad, happy, angry, lonely? How are you feeling? Learn to identify your feelings and the reasons why you feel this way. Take a deep breath in and out. The next one, I will stand up for myself and voice my opinions with confidence. My voice is strong. I have a reason to speak. I must stand up for my voice and myself. Next one, I will not hold myself responsible for the things beyond my control. Things happen. Hey, that's life. I cannot control COVID-19, but I can control the way I respond to it. I cannot control my students' behavior, but I can control how I discipline them. I cannot control my family's behavior, but I can control how I love them and how I respond to them. Next one, I will communicate openly when I need to, assertively. I will not bottle my feelings inside, but I will speak. I will let my voice be heard. I will do this with love and with care. Breathe in, breathe out. I will not let my happiness depend on other people. I will create the life I want to live. I will be happy in my circumstances. If I am not happy, then I will change my circumstances or situation. If I cannot change the situation, then I'll change my response to the situation. I will prioritize my mental health and physical well-being. I will take care of myself. I will think good thoughts I will eat well. I will exercise. I will take care of myself. I will cut people who would make me feel small or inadequate out of my life. It's hard to cut people out of your life, especially when you love them. These may be your friends, your family, even your coworkers. If it's extremely difficult to do this, then minimize the time you spend around unhealthy people with unhealthy mindsets. Be kind and be courteous, but ensure that you protect your space. Think positively and remember to love yourself, encourage yourself, and support yourself in all the aspects of your life. Last time, breathe in and breathe out. So, these are the boundaries of self-care. And with this, I say thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, we had two presenters who could not make it due to internet difficulties. But no worries. Nothing can kill our joy, right? For we are happy teachers. So, let me leave you my social media information for persons who want to contact me to speak to their teachers, to speak to their students. You can always contact me here on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. With our third digital summit now safely under our belt, I'd like to take the time to thank every one of our friends, attendees, and partners who made this year's pioneering event a truly special one. With almost 100 participants, I am delighted that we have managed to move into a new dimension for sharing quality content and best practices with each other. With our events always targeting regions, we felt, given the current situation with COVID, it was time to bring the global TESOL industry together to talk solutions, which is exactly what we achieved. So, from each one of us at Happy Teachers, we would like to say thank you to our presenters from Latin America and the Caribbean. Even with the time difference, you were able to show up and give your all. And for this, we truly thank you. Special thanks to my assistant, Shanique Bailey, who managed the comment section today. And a big thank you to all our viewers who attended the event from all over the world. You are all now honorary Happy Teachers, and we invite you to join our Facebook group here on screen, Happy Teachers Online Club. Again, on behalf of Happy Teachers, we thank you, stay safe, and we'll see you all soon.